What's going on, guys? My name is Eldeniro, and welcome to another episode of the Midnight Hour. Only the second episode this year, so shout out to everybody who's here listening to this. For those of you who've kept me in your podcast feed and all of that good stuff. I think this year I got like the Spotify Wrapped thing. It said that the podcast has a total of 11,000 listeners on Spotify, which is pretty interesting considering the absolute void of content that there is available in the Midnight Hour feed these days. But that being said, hope you all had a really good year. This is a year in review episode with a little bit of a twist, I suppose. I wanted to do one of these last year, but just kind of never got around to it, and then I just let it fall by the wayside, and despite the best of intentions, things just never materialized. But I'm really happy with this episode because it was a lot of fun to record. My sad disclaimer, as always, pretty much, is that the audio is not that great. I was using OBS to record, which is like primarily for streaming video, and for some reason there's like an issue with the encoding on it for audio. I don't know what any of that means. If anyone has a PhD in noise, please feel free to guide me through the horrible process that is audio mastery and all of that stuff. Should probably say that like most of the equipment and technology and software that I use is stuff that was, you know, cutting edge in 2009, but not so much since then. I just refuse to adapt to the times when like ultimately YouTube and content creation is not my job anymore. And I really just do this for the fun, and also as a like reward to everyone who continues to be subscribed and stuff like that. Anyone who continues to be connected to me in some way, I really do appreciate you. And yeah, it's been an interesting time this last while, eh? But anyway, I usually say in these like, oh man, it's the end of the year, it's a real significant time for like taking stock of where you are in life and all that stuff. And then I also go on to say this was a bad year. I think that's different. I think 2022 was a decent year for me, and I think that's probably the first time in like 8.5 years of podcasting that I've actually said that about a year. But it was good. I think I had the highest ever like consistent levels of decent mental health, which is a huge bonus. You know, very few lows. Career wise, things are going pretty well. Personal life, things are going pretty well. Yeah, I don't know, it feels good. Like everything kind of feels good. I feel like a great metric for this type of assessment is if I ask myself at age 13 if I'd be happy with the life I was living now at age what I am now, which I'm not going to say out loud, and I feel like 13-year-old me would actually be pretty fucking delighted. So that's something, you know. You gotta give back to your younger self and try in some way to honor the dreams that they had or whatever. The song that opened the show was To Shreds You Say by Iron Sheik. They're a super cool like punk rock supergroup of sorts. They only ever made 3 albums, but that song has a kind of an end of year feel to it. I believe the singer wrote the entire album that it's on, which is called You Can't Stay Here. He wrote it after a divorce and also the death of a friend, so kind of a lot of sad notes for that year. But still, end of year vibes, punk rock. I don't know, feels Midnight Hour-y to me. This episode doesn't really cover many things that happened, so I'll give you the rundown. Myself and Miguel had a very large list and like pool of topics that we were going to get through. We wanted to talk about the war in Ukraine. We wanted to talk about like other sort of cultural peaks and valleys of 2022, you know, stuff like Kanye West and the very kind of public I guess like episode. I won't even say too much about that. I feel like that's kind of like a lightning rod at the moment. We also wanted to talk about like Andrew Tate and the kind of strangeness of his popularity. A bunch of other things. Like we had loads of plans. I had a really large list of stuff, and we were planning on going through it chronologically, but then we just got talking, and I kind of wanted to stick to more positive things. And despite my best intentions, I think there's still a lot of negativity in the episode. But I just hope that you guys find it or enjoyable, I should say. I hope that you find it enjoying. Yeah, good job. The things that we did cover were mostly recent events, which is like the last quarter. Things like the World Cup, the death of the Queen, Elon Musk and his purchase of Twitter, and some other stuff. We had, I think, a total of maybe 15 topics we planned to get through. I think we got through 3 of them, maybe 4 of them, in 3.5 hours. So make of that what you will. We also do like a little bit of rundown of like music and movies that we enjoyed or indulged in 2022. Not necessarily things specifically from 2022, but nevertheless, I'm happy with the episode. If you're happy with it too, let me know, or don't let me know. I actually have no way of knowing if you like it or not. Very few people actually watch the thing on YouTube nowadays, so that was really the only metric that I had. Anyways, who cares? Do I have anything else to say? Listen, I hope that you all have like a really good end of year, like whatever you're doing, Christmas, New Year's, like all those things. Hope that if you've been working really hard or if you've been studying really hard, that you get a little bit of time off, a little bit of time to yourself to recover, a little bit of space, like all those kinds of things. Hope that you are like feeling good about where you are in life. I feel like I have the unique position as a content creator of having an audience that actually ages, because my demographic is static. It just stays the way that it is. I have the people from 2012 to 2015, and that's what I have. So all you guys that are like aging along with me, best of luck to you. I hope that you get all the things that you want in life and that you're working towards them now. And hey, if not, there's plenty of time. Don't worry. Yeah, I guess that's all of that out of the way. I will get on with the episode. Again, apologies for the audio. It's not the greatest. Hopefully you can still stick it out. And yeah, if you do enjoy it, I don't know, give me a thumbs up or like whatever. Give me a virtual thumbs up. Just put your thumb up to your screen right now, and then that's enough for me. All right, thanks a lot. I will speak to you at some stage in the not too distant future. Godspeed. I'm joined today by Miguel, recurring guest and former wrestling podcast co-host. How's it going, Miguel?
All good, all good. Good to be back in the midnight hour.
Cheap pop.
My favorite hour. Well, you got to get in with the host first of all. So it's good to be in this mind space here with you as we what are we doing here? We're wrapping up 22.
Wrapping up 22. I can't believe it's 22. And also, I bet everyone who records podcasts these days says this, but like the last 2 or 3 years are basically just 1 year to me, I guess.
Yes. Not just in terms of obviously world events and stuff, but it feels like everything's like a proper whirlwind. So if you told me that something happened in 2020 or 2021, I'd be like, oh yeah, of course, that was 2021 or that was 2020. Like it feels like, I mean, we're supposed to be in a post-pandemic world, but it still feels very much like the remnants of the pandemic world.
It does.
I mean,
yeah.
how you see it.
Pretty much that. Like we're out of lockdown, mask mandates, like all that kind of thing, but it doesn't feel that way. Like I only go to the office once a week. When I do, like when I leave the house, it's basically at gunpoint. Everything else I do, like haven't had a haircut in like fucking, I don't know, 6 months or something. And it's just, I don't know. It's weird. I feel like a really strong sense of inertia about like around everything. You know what I mean? Like I feel like nothing is moving really in life. It's just sort of, here we are on track to become the people in WALL-E. You know, in WALL-E, when they're on those scooters floating around that spaceship or whatever, I feel like that's more or less.
This is going way over my head. This is too
Okay.
high concept.
Yeah, yeah.
Wally.
Wally, it's
Fuck me.
it's a intellectual titan movie.
I've never seen Wally. I'm sure there's an old one and a new one. So if you tell me that Wally also had a pandemic and you feel exactly like it or him or her, I'd be like, yeah, sounds about right to me, buddy.
Have you ever seen the movie Predator?
Oh yeah, oh god, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
that's got nothing to do with anything. I just wanted to check.
Oh, he's just throwing a little curveball. Okay,
Yeah, that's right.
okay.
Yeah, Curveball. Yeah, that's an awesome movie. I think we can all agree.
Yeah, yeah. And it came out this year as well,
That's
2022. It's
correct.
current, you
Yeah, I fucking might as
know?
well. Dude, wait till we get to the section of this podcast where we're like best movies and best albums of 2022 because I haven't a fucking breeze. So,
Nor me, nor me. I think we should go for like, well, that's a good little teaser for later, but I think we should go for more like things that you've played or things that you've listened to in 2022
yeah,
that you might have
basically,
only
yeah.
listened for the first time. I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
that's the
yeah.
better route here.
Such a shit way of doing it, but it has to be done that way.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm now at a point where, I mean, it's probably been on the decline, but this is for the first time in a long time. It feels like I'm no longer current. Like I'm no longer, that connected to the. I mean, not that I was connected to chart music, but you know what I mean. Like you still know
mm,
what's going on, in the quote unquote mainstream,
in the
movies or otherwise.
zeitgeist.
Yeah, yeah. Whereas it feels now that it's not an active choice. It's more just like I need to find my own path and my own shit, whether it's current, not current. So it feels like very much on the fringes of mainstream society at the moment.
Yeah, I feel sort of the same. I also feel like my brain has been so fucking warped by like 3 years of sitting inside, and I also got COVID twice, and like I genuinely believe
Ooh.
that COVID did something to my brain. Like that I've always been so good at like keeping everything in order in my head. Like I've always had a really good
Hmm.
memory, a good like ability to compartmentalize and cut things up into chapters in my head. Like I would always know what year something came out or like just shit like that. Like I don't think I have that
Yeah,
anymore. Everything is just slush and swampy and sort of like
yeah.
cloudy, and I really don't like it. I feel like I've regressed mentally by about fucking 10 years, honestly. Like
Yes, I wonder if that is a side effect of being locked. I mean, this isn't a whole like we shouldn't have never been locked up. Whatever, think what you
no,
want, but
no.
more in the sense of I think COVID, the pandemic, I should say, not the disease, because you know what, I've been very lucky not to even have COVID, or at
Oh
least
wow. I didn't know that you didn't
when
get
I
it.
no, at least when I was sick, sort of April last year, and I felt really terrible. But by then you had to pay for tests,
Mm.
so I just stayed home for a week and just had medicine, and then I was fine. So I couldn't tell you if I did or didn't.
Did you have
Um,
ivermectin?
I just put bleach on my skin, buddy.
Oh, nice.
I mean,
Excellent.
that's what the big man said to do. The big orange man. He said, "Have you ever tried just cleaning the skin off, like just fucking getting some sandpaper and some bleach and just scratching it?"
What was the one before ivermectin? Oh, hydroxychloroquine. Like, whatever.
I did think that, but I was like, no way am I gonna fucking say that out loud. I can't
Yeah.
pronounce it. Hydro what?
Yeah.
Um, but no, so I've never had it all. But one of the things I've suffered from it, not so much just in 2022, you can even lump in 2021 with that, is my social battery is far, 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 far less than it used to be. Whereas it
Yeah.
feels like maybe this is for most people, but it feels like nowadays it's like I'll go on like one time for drinks after work or go to the bar or go to the pub and I'm like, well, I'm fucking exhausted. Like I don't have to do that for a month now because I'm done. Like I've done the whole going out socializing thing. Like I feel like that battery kind of fills a lot or does it feel it goes down a lot quicker?
Yeah,
Don't know if
it
you found that as
drains.
well. That
Yeah, dude. I used
yeah, yeah.
to, you remember like me like 2018, 2019, like every fucking Friday and Saturday night I was going out like getting on it, and
Hmm.
I think I can count on one hand the amount of times I've been out in Dublin since like March 2020. It's like a fucking
Yes.
oh dude, it's so exhausting everything about it. And also like just to tie it in with everything else, everything is so fucking expensive, and like everything
Yes.
just it feels different. Everything feels weird and different, and I don't know. I
Hmm.
I think I think partially I have a point. Like there have been a lot of changes because of COVID and everything, but then also like I'm getting old. Like I'm really fucking old now. Like I just don't have the same like stamina that I had when I was in my 20s. I don't have the same like appetite for like nights out and like all this kind of thing. And yeah, I'm just like an old mess waiting to
Well, it's
die.
because I think Tinder profile, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just an old wreck. I'm the husk of a man.
A
But no,
husk.
I'm with you as well. And also, you know what's coming after as well with being older. That you're like, oh, okay, I can't just fucking rock it until 5 o'clock in the morning, be semi-normal the next day. Nowadays, it's like the next day's a write-off, and the day after that's a write-off as well.
Yeah, yeah, it's
So
true.
you just evaluate in your head. You go, do I want to go out, spend, you know, 85 quid to just have a massive headache tomorrow and the day after? So you just start to evaluate things differently as well, and you sort of see the risk versus reward. Whereas I think when you're younger, you just tend to go for it because you're like, oh, it's an opportunity to go out and be out and about. Whereas now it's more like, well, I've done that countless times,
Yeah.
so it's harder to get excited unless unless it's like somebody's birthday or it's like a kind of a bigger deal type situation. And of course, but and even going forward for me, it's like I ain't gonna step outside on New Year's Eve. I'm just gonna be with my family and get fucking drunk. Like I couldn't imagine even just getting all amped up to go on a night out on New Year's Eve when you know it's just hectic. I mean, this has been a long belief, but more so now,
Mm-hmm.
just the idea of queuing for fucking ages and waiting a month to get a drink and yeah, all of that just no longer the other side of these situations. I don't no longer see the appeal of it, or at least to do it as often.
Yeah,
And yeah,
no,
maybe it's an
it's
age thing, maybe it's a COVID thing, a
I
little bit of
think
both.
it's also just it's like the world is just slightly more introvert friendly now, like as a result of
Yeah.
everything, and that's kind of nice too. But I do like I don't feel good. Like it's really weird. Like I feel good like being at home, and my work will be like, "Oh, we need you to come to the office tomorrow," and I'll just be like, "Yeah, I'm not doing that." But like I think that that's
Mm.
actually really bad. I think I'm suffering. There's some sort of not even opportunity cost, but there's some kind of toll it takes. I think to just stay inside all the time. I think you miss out on so many important things for like mental stimulation and kind of
You do.
like maturity and growth or whatever. Not that like
Mhm.
I'm immature per se, but I think that less exposure to people on a long enough timeline like reduces your overall levels of maturity, because if you're not able to deal with things the way that you usually would, and you get very
Mhm.
stressed easier, like all this kind of stuff. But I don't know, it just kind of fucking is what it is, and it's still ultimate like
You just
first world problem, but still like I don't fucking
yeah,
care.
but I know I'm with you. Yeah, no, of course, like this. Yeah, this isn't like I have a disease and or I have some
Mm,
crippling disability. Obviously, that then comes with the territory of having you don't want to go outside as much and also mental health stuff. But just on a general level, I do agree. And also, as much because I'm a bit of a hermit, obviously, especially this fucking winter, I'm way more of a hermit than I think I've ever been. But even in the summer, and unless you go out and unless you engage with the world, it becomes harder up to the point where I'm like, fuck, I gotta go to the shop. Now listen, the shop is literally a 2 minute walk from where I live, but because
yeah.
I go out so little, it's like, oh, I gotta take a shower. Oh my god, I have to go put my fucking shoes on. I put a jacket on and a hat on because it's cold. I have to walk there. I have to fucking presumably, either have to potentially engage with people or have to talk to someone that works behind the tills or something.
Yeah.
And I think before, if you're the sort of person that just lives their lives without kind of A, overthinking, B, kind of you do a lot more stuff, that doesn't seem like a big deal. Let's just, I'll just go here, get it done.
Yeah.
Um, Whereas if you don't, I think you'd start getting those setbacks of being like, oh God, I have to go. Right, today I have to really go outside because I'm low on, I don't know, coffee or milk or toilet paper. Some of that you need to get
Meth.
and unavoidably, other than the coffee and the other bit. But yeah, something that
Yeah.
insert thing here. Um, oh fuck, I gotta do it. I gotta do it. Okay, like when should I go? Should I go as soon as I wake up? Should I go a little bit later? Should I have breakfast first and then go? And I don't think I used to have that before. It would just be like go do something or don't. Like it's as simple as that. Whereas now I feel like there's like a filtering process, and it's almost like a beer. You have to like G yourself up to do anything,
Yeah, for
even just
sure.
as I said, just to I don't know to go to the doctors or something. I have to be like, what the fuck, you gotta call them. Get mentally in the zone to engage with other people. And yeah, I don't think I've ever had that. I've had that before, but I don't think I've had that to such a degree. And the thing is, going forward, I don't even know if that's going to change. I don't even know if it's going to go full circle where at some point I'll be like, oh yeah, this is now completely normal being out all the time, or having social events twice a week, God forbid, because I'm like, one a week's enough, trust me. um,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's and on a personal level, how was your you haven't said all of that. Um,
How was my
you know,
2022?
how was your 2022, and was it any better or worse or different or the same than last year, if you can even remember when that started and ended?
I'd say it was better than 2021. I think I'm the type of person, like, I don't really understand what it is that makes me, like, what criteria I use to evaluate a year, let's say. I
Mhm.
think, but I think 2022 for like personal growth was actually pretty good. Like, in spite of all the stuff I just said about being afraid to go outside, I have moved into a new job, which came with like a significant kind of promotion. Um,
Hmm.
and then like I've seen a little bit more of the world. I'm a little bit wiser. Like a lot of things kind of. I just a lot of things are going well for me on a just purely macro sense. Um,
Mhm.
so like that's pretty nice. I
Career
think
wise and travel
yeah,
wise.
and
Yeah, yeah.
and like relationship wise, like all these kinds of things, like everything feels like it's moving
Hmm.
in a pretty tidy direction. And I'm, as you well know, because I think you're probably the same as me. It's really hard to like look too far into the future because like A, it's fucking scary. Like B, what are you even looking for? Like all these kinds of things. But I feel like I feel like my binoculars stretch a little bit further forward than they ever have before, or something like that. Um, it's kind of nice.
Yeah.
I feel a little bit more stable on a macro level. I feel like if you went back in time to like 13, 14 year old me and you were like, yo, in 2022 your life is gonna be like this, I think 13, 14 year old me would be like, you know what, that's fucking cool, I'll take that. So I think that that's a good way of kind of assessing your place in life, and whether or not it's suitable to your needs and wants and all those kinds of things.
Yeah, and not just that's a very good way of looking at it. And not just comparing it to the next
Justin
person
Bieber or something.
or compare. Yeah, why am I not Justin Timberlake? What's going
Yeah,
on?
yeah.
You
Where did I go
know, this
wrong
is
in
literally.
life?
Yeah, I thought in 2022 I would have finally got my acting and singing chops together. Yeah, you're right. And I think
Yeah,
if you it's the classic. I know it's probably a cliche, but it's the classic sort of like count your blessings type situation, because you're
yeah,
right. If you just get the present and go, well, I haven't got this, or I really needed to be this, I'm not really the person that I think I am, or maybe I've changed in these ways and I don't like these changes. But then if you look at it in the sense of like, here's what you do have.
yeah,
We're now in an age where we can watch anything we want. We can fucking order any food to our doorstep. We can, and this isn't a personal level. Obviously, this is more like a societal level. Um, but if you offer that to yourself 10 years ago, 5 years ago, how far back do you want to turn that clock? I think you'd be like, well, I'll take it, because when I was, I'd say the same for me. When I was like 19, I wasn't being like, and by the time I'm 29, I need to have a marriage. I need to be in a relationship.
yeah,
It was really more about the case of like, I hope I'm just happy later in life, regardless of whether you're with someone, not with someone, and the job you want to do, not the job you want to do, whether you're content and you feel like, as you said, well, you're in a not necessarily a higher ground, but you kind of have your path a little bit figured out. That's not
yeah.
necessarily the worst thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
Yeah, it's progress. Like it's
hmm,
good. It's forward thinking and positive and all these kinds of things. That's pretty
Positive
nice.
reinforcement. Yeah, rather than beating yourself up over shit that you can't control most of the time.
Yeah, which I
Um,
still do,
and
but hey ho.
yeah. I try to do that less. And also, I've also got a theory here. I often think that even years are always better than odd years. I don't know why that is.
Oh, interesting. Say more on that if you can.
2022 better than 21.
Yes.
2015 shitter than 2016. I think 2019, actually, no, it stopped at 2020 because of the pandemic, I have to say, because you can't compare 2019 to 2020 and be like, oh, 2020 was better, arguably. But generally speaking, I do find that the odd year is always usually a setup for the following year to be better. It's almost like one's the learning year and the other one's like the one where you do shit properly. I don't know why. I don't have any, like, I ain't got the
Mm.
facts on this. This is just my feelings and thoughts. But yeah, honestly, that's just how I see it. I always think that even years are always better than the odd year.
I'm thinking about it. I would say just to be a devil's advocate, everyone's favorite thing. Um, I think 99 was better than 2000, and I think 2007 was better than 2008. However, I would also go as far as to say I would concede that 98 was better than 99 and '06 was better than '07. So I don't know where that leaves us on this theory.
Yeah, you gotta take this is so this is a deep cut here, but you gotta take the odd year has to be the first one, and then the
Yeah.
second one has to be the even. So if you say 2006 is better than 2007, then you're taking 2006 as your base year up against 2007. But if you take 2005 up against 2006, I'd say that most of the time, I want people to comment and leave. I want people fucking see if this is just anecdotal or it's actually fact. But if people could comment and say if the odd years are better than the even years, I want to see if we can get a sort of a census on this. 'Cause I
Yeah.
think so. It'd be interesting. Um, yeah, and to the point of that, I'd say 21 was fucking shit, and 22 just hasn't had, for me anyways, just hasn't had as many shit events
Yeah,
as
2022 has
21.
been fairly smooth sailing, and that's good. 2021 was rough. So many ups and
Yeah.
downs, so much personal
Hmm.
turmoil. Yeah, fuck 2021. We're fuck you. I don't think I even did a year in review episode of the podcast for 2021. I think that says it all because no
That is
year
the
is
review.
complete. Yeah,
Got 'em.
yeah, fuck you. Um,
Yeah.
all right,
Agreed.
let's discuss some media and cultural significant events of the past year. So I think
Give it to me. Let's drink it in, man.
a good place to start. I don't want to go fucking what do you call it chronologically. Like I'm not fucking going all the way
Mm.
back to January here right now. I think that because it's fresh on everyone. Disclaimer, everybody, we're recording this on the 11th, so the semifinals of the World Cup haven't happened yet. But we're up to date apart from those events. So let's talk about the World Cup. What do we? I don't even know where to start. Do we go into all the
But what have
human
you
rights
made? What have you
abuses?
made? We'll pick that up. So we'll start from the pitch.
Okay.
Have you seen much of it? What have
Yes.
you make of the actual games and how teams have done and stuff like that? Give me some of that. Give me your hot hits on that.
Okay. I'm gonna first of all. Okay. I'll give some generalities and then I have a fucking nuclear take that I wanna actually fucking launch a hydrogen bomb on this conversation, and I hope that there are Dutch people listening. Um, so
No
I
boy.
I have enjoyed the tournament actually a lot more than I thought that I would. I think it's
Mm.
just been what's the word here? I think I I'm against the Qatar World Cup on a philosophical level because I like my World Cups to not involve the death of thousands of slaves, right? Okay, now that out of the way, that's a disclaimer. I'm still a good
Oh,
person,
look at
like blah blah blah.
me,
Yeah,
fucking
exactly.
liberal
Yeah,
elite
yeah,
over
yeah.
here.
I've said the
You don't want anyone to
bravest.
die. Oh, what? You don't want anyone to die over the football you're watching? You go live in your little sanctuaries, you little liberal elite.
But
Um,
I heard so many people over the last like fucking 10 years say just stupid shit like, oh, it's a winter World Cup. They're gonna have to pause the real football and all this shit. And then like when you would call them on it and you would be like, "Hey, look, a winter World Cup, like it's fucking nice to do something different, right? Like it's a winter World Cup for the Southern Hemisphere, like every fucking year.
Hmm.
All the other
Hmm.
fucking leagues in the world pause. Like it's nice. Like let's just flip that around for a second, and then they pivot to the oh, but Qatar human rights, blah blah. Okay, but the two things are not fucking like it's not like a mutually exclusive thing where oh yeah we're having a Winter World Cup has to be slavery. Like can we all
Yeah,
just agree
people have to
that
die for the World Cup to
yeah
happen in the winter.
yeah
It's
like
one or the other. Yeah,
can we just get on the like an even sort of playing field here and just let me talk about how
yeah,
a Winter World Cup is actually it's pretty fucking cool. Like it's nearly Christmas, it's fucking snowing outside, like everything is cold and dark, and I turn on the TV and it's like fucking Senegal against Iran. Like come on, like fucking allow me, fam. Jesus.
it has certainly
So
made like what is usually quite a grim period of time not so grim, I'd say, because ever
yeah,
since
you're
started
fucking
middle of November, there's always something to look forward to because you're like, well, at least the football's on. I can always got that. Don't have to think of what to watch because if it's shit, you turn it off. If it's the game shit, you turn it off. But you're right. Like I think there's nothing, and also fitness wise, um, I mean, there's going to be a lot of injuries after the World Cup finishes. I think when we go back to the regular season, when we get to February for the Champions League, I think there'll
yeah.
be quite after the January transfer window. I think there'll be quite a lot of injuries, but you're right. Like you actually don't have to wait until the summer where players technically have played like 50, 60 games. Everyone's kind of
Exactly.
hitting their peak fitness now. And I think that is beneficial for African sides, South American sides, I should say,
The Asian
and
sides, like
Asian side.
fucking watching, like in the middle of the fucking winter on a
Hmm.
freezing cold morning, working from home, turning on the TV and watching Argentina get clapped by Saudi Arabia, like that's fucking
Hmm.
entertainment, man.
Breakfast, like breakfast football. Like when was the
Yeah,
last time that I can't think. I mean, I want to say Japan, Korea, but I was
yeah,
kind of too young
yeah.
to even conceptually be like, I have to get up at 7 to watch the football.
I remember
So
that. I remember
yeah.
watching the first half of
Hmm.
I think was it Brazil against I think Brazil's first game. I remember watching that the first half of that and then going to school.
I want to say Turkey that game.
Oh,
And if
that
I got this right, I am
one.
a fucking not the
That
semi-final because they did play each other in the semis, but it
they
was the one
did,
where
but
the Rivaldo
the
clip
yeah
with the
the
hands.
it was
Yeah,
3-1 to Brazil. That one was
yeah.
that was at lunchtime. That was a lunchtime kickoff. So maybe it was the other one from
Mm.
that group or something. I don't know. Yeah, it's fucking 20 years ago. No one cares. But yeah, it's been cool. Like it's been like the underdog stories have been pretty fucking dope. Like it's been cool. On a sort of a footballing spirit level to see like Japan like get a historic win like Germany and Spain both going out early, Morocco just having this sort of immense like ulting moment where they're sort of just conquering the Iberian Peninsula over the course of two games. um yeah, okay, yeah, no comment from
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
understood.
No, no, no. Good for them. You know. Good.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
good
yeah.
lads.
Good game. Good game. Good, wonderful. I mean, yeah. Some would say they should go fuck themselves and stop getting ideas above their station. But that's for others to say. That is not for me to say. That's for others to say.
That's not what this Portuguese fan has to say.
Mm-mm. No, like, who the fuck do you think you are? Getting to a semi-final. You're Morocco. You should be a tricky opponent in the group stage, and then you fuck the fuck off and you let the adults in the room deal with it. But no, they decided to beat Rocky Balboa here. You know,
Yeah.
and that's what the manager actually said. They're a bit like Rocky, but yeah, fuck them. But well done to them too. Yeah, that's like the nicest I can be.
um what else? The what do you make of the refereeing decisions thus far?
I have to say, on the pitch, I think it's been the best World Cup since probably about. I mean, I haven't watched them all. Funnily enough, I haven't got the seasons, all the
Since
seasons in the World Cup.
54.
Yeah. I didn't see what Uruguay was doing in '54 or
Yeah.
fucking. There's probably a tournament that took place in Nazi Germany in '38 or some shit like that.
Yeah,
Didn't
that's
see
my
that
favorite
either.
one. I mean, what?
Yeah. There's always one in some fucked up place. But I'd say if you take Russia, Brazil, South Africa, and obviously goes back to Germany, I'd say that this tournament has been more exciting in terms of late goals, late drama, narratives, playing styles, tactically, has blown Russia 2018 out the water, and it's also blown Brazil 2014 out the water.
It's also
Even South
blown
Africa,
global LGBT rights out of
yeah,
the water.
yeah, they got blown out of the fucking island. They got told to fuck off. But actually, I even say even better than South Africa because I thought South Africa was a shit tournament, not just because of the country I'm from not doing so well. Just all in all, it was a stupid ball. The vuvuzelas, fuck that. But I think so many upsets, as you said, so many interesting games that you could be like, that one has its own narrative and that has its own story. So everything kind of feels self-contained, but then it's part of a bigger thing. But the weird thing is, we could get a final between Croatia and France.
Croatia and
I don't
Morocco,
think,
dude.
yeah, I don't even think we've ever had back-to-back. I mean, I know Champions Leagues we've had this because like Valencia got there a few times versus Madrid, I want to say, but and
Yeah.
United versus Barca. But um, that's still like a 2-year gap in between. I've never seen two World Cups with the exact same opponents in the final.
Ooh,
And
I think, is there not some mad thing where like Hungary got to the final 2 years in a row or two tournaments in a row against Brazil? Or am I completely fucking making that up?
I don't think well, that's the thing, because obviously you could even say fucking, oh my god, who won the last one? Who won the last? Oh, France.
France, dude.
France. Who won the one before that? 2014.
Germany.
Germany. I can't think of any. Yeah, possibly Hungary back in the day, but even I think
Nah,
Brazil, Germany, and
they.
maybe that's happened a few times.
So Hungary lost it to. Oh, it was Argentina, Germany in '86 and '90. It was a repeat of each other.
Oh,
Uh,
oh shit! No way.
it was Hungary got there in '54, and I think Hungary. I think Hungary made it to like they made it really far in like two tournaments back to back. I think. Oh, it was 38 in Italy. They got to the final, and then 54. And those are, even though that's like a fucking billion-year gap. The World Cups were actually postponed because of the war, so that was only two tournaments apart, if you know what I mean.
A war?
So,
There was a
yeah,
war.
yeah.
Who was in the war?
Sounds like a bunch of liberal bullshit to me.
Yeah. And this war took place in English soil. I just realized I sound like Dennis from Always Sunny.
Yeah.
As well. It's really good funny. Yeah, no, so back to what I was saying now. Yeah, I think that the football has just been fucking great. I mean, we're now at a point where even what would be traditionally the low, I mean, other than Qatar themselves, but they probably had a lot more pressure as well as trying to have a decent team. But I think even so far as the lowest ranked sides, your Saudi Arabia's, Ecuador,
Canada, dude. Canada were fucking sick.
Canada, everyone has something they can point to and go, we did something different or did something special there. Japan, obviously, Korea, because obviously they even went on to beat Portugal and therefore qualify. There's a lot for every single nation to be proud of because, as I said, we're now at a point where you get Champions League winners playing for the likes of Tunisia or Morocco or Colombia, Ecuador. I know not all these teams are actually in the World Cup, but then like the talent spread is actually truly global.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the tactics have finally been catching up. Look at Senegal, like even African sides. I know they didn't get to the quarterfinals. Well, I guess Morocco did technically. The fucking cheaters, but yeah. But the other African sides, even though they didn't get as far as maybe people kind of pushed them to do so,
Yeah.
I still think they did really well. Nobody got spanked. Nobody. I mean, you can say even Costa Rica, who did get spanked, they went on to beat Japan, and they, put up a fight against Germany. Like I feel like every single team, for the first time in a long time, had something they could point to and go, we can build from this.
I think Netherlands have nothing to be proud of. I
Oh yeah,
I fucking hate Louis van Gaal so much. I think he's literally the worst fucking manager in the world and has been for like fucking 15 years, and he's been fucking coasting around on this ghost reputation of some shit that he did in the 90s. And for some reason, despite like fucking up every job he gets, he keeps on getting these fucking high positions, and he keeps on becoming the Dutch manager, and they're the most boring fucking team. They've got like all this talent, all these attacking players, and all they fucking do is pass it backwards and sideways and fucking bore their teams to death. And to be honest with you, they make me fucking sick. Sorry, okay. To the Dutch people listening,
I'm
obviously,
pissed now.
obviously, I have a lot of Dutch listeners, and I like all of them, everyone who I've ever engaged with. But Louis van Gaal is a fucking fraud, and I fucking hate him. And I hate the way like he says goofy shit in press conferences, so he gets a pass where people think that he's some kind of exciting zany character, but he's actually a fucking fraud. Just look at the way he fucking plays. God, they haven't done anything exciting in fucking years. I fucking hate this guy. He's a fucking dickhead. Fuck him.
So what's the last time? When was the last time even he won something?
Dude, I
Oh, long
remember
time
like
ago.
when I first started watching
2004,
football. No, not even then. I like he had a good run with Barca, right?
1994.
Then he went
Yeah.
back to Barca and he fucking ruined them. He turned them into a UEFA Cup team from being fucking Barcelona. Like he was so fucking garbage. And then he like didn't he go to Bayern Munich and like get sacked because he finished like fucking third in the league with Bayern Munich? Like,
Yeah,
he's
which
a
hadn't
fucking
happened in a
fraud.
long time at the time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's whether or not you judge it on results or whether you judge it on sort of like, I'm sure that if you go to the Netherlands, I'm sure they'll tell you he revolutionized XYZ for teams. And you
Yeah,
go,
but
yeah, but when did that take place?
But that's the
1986?
thing, dude. Like, if you go to Merseyside right now and ask any Liverpool fan what they think about Rafa Benitez, they'll tell you earnestly that he's like a world class manager and stuff. Like, the thing about football is you kind of like there are very few exceptions to this rule, although there are exceptions. But in general, like you get found out over time. You can be the most tactically innovative, like best manager in the world or whatever, but like in 10 years, if you haven't adapted or whatever, like the game leaves you behind and some people
Yes.
like are allowed to maintain like elite tier positions because of their reputation, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I fully expect to get a lot
They
of
get
hate
to,
and
they get,
pushback, but
no. I mean, well, not from me, anyways. Yeah, I was gonna be like, well, yeah, from others maybe, but you're right. So, you do often get this, especially, I mean, you could point to Fernando Santos at Portugal. You could point to, I mean, Van Gaal, even to some extent at Holland, because of the way they've been played and how they traditionally play 4-4-3-3, and then he changed it to three at the back, and everyone, even the press, are going, it's really boring.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
winning games, so you take that, and then you stop winning, and then suddenly the tactics fucking suck. But I think that you're right. I think if you manage long enough, and I'd argue that the only example of this not happening is Pep, but that's because his cash flow is unlimited, so therefore he
yeah,
can skirt by having, because I think that even with Liverpool or Madrid or PSG, pretty much every other team other than Man City themselves has every 4 or 5 years they have that one shit season.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it'll be the year where Monaco wins the league. It'll be the year where the Borussia Dortmund win the league over there, or Juventus stop winning the league. They always have these like
Juventus
cycles.
stopped buying the league.
Yeah, Juventus stopped buying the league and joining the Super League because apparently buying the league wasn't enough. And in Spain it's the same thing. You get that other year where you're like, oh, it's Atleti winning this year. It's not Barca or Real.
Actually,
Um,
yeah, true. Your man Simeone has been very consistent.
hmm.
I think like Fergie is probably the truest exception where like he actually
but
was
even
still.
Simeone has big dips because they'll
Yeah,
finish
for sure, yeah.
fourth, and then the one year where they'll have all the squad prime good to go, which last time would have been 2020, and I'm
Mhm.
probably looking at the year after this one when he sells Joao Felix and you start moving on the
That's
older.
that's the
It's
thing. Like Simeone will get a pass
cyclical.
because he always seems to have a tiny squad. He's always like stretching the resources as far as he possibly can. So like you
Yeah.
would look at it as a dip in terms of form, but when you look at the like actual resources available to him, you'll kind of just be like, he's actually done a sensational job, like with the hand that he's been
Yeah.
dealt and stuff. Whereas I
Mm.
think if you look at Fergie is like kind of the inverse of that, where he seemingly had a wealth of resources and the ability and the name to sign any player in the world, but he was happy winning leagues with fucking frauds like Tom Cleverley in the team and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I think he was more system over names. I think that's the
for
thing you have to say.
sure,
'Cause
yeah,
some of
loyalty
some
and
of those
sort of
teams,
all that type of
hmm
thing. Yeah.
the locker room mentality then comes from having Giggsy and Skulls on the pitch rather than necessarily replacing them when they hit 31, 32, because you're
Yeah.
like, okay, they don't
Yeah.
just maybe they're shitter in the pitch, but they keep that the whatever the United
Bringing
mentality is
Scholes'
trying to be.
corpse out of retirement just because you let
Like,
Pogba go for free over some
yeah,
bullshit fucking
or
ego trip. Yeah.
Park Ji Sun wasn't fit, so or Anderson wasn't fit. I mean, I have to say though, some of those United teams from like 2010 to maybe 2013, you had no business winning the fucking league or
No,
getting as high up in the
that's what I
Champions
mean.
Leagues.
That's why I'm saying like he actually is like the most
Mm,
elite level manager of like my lifetime because of that exact reason.
mm,
Like it's all well and good winning things with great players and spending lots of money and stuff like that. And like that does take talent too. Don't get me wrong. Like I don't I
mm-hmm.
think that Pep is as good as he is because he's as good as he is. But Fergie
Yeah, 'cause you still got
like
to nurture the talent, of course.
exactly,
Yeah,
yeah. Whereas Fergie is nurturing fucking Wes Brown. Like let's see Pep
yeah,
fucking nurture Wes Brown into the fucking. But anyway, yeah, I
yeah.
don't know. I'm sure I've made a lot of people angry. I kind of forget how hostile football fans are in general, but you know what? I'm just fucking sick of Van Hal. I'm sick of his stupid fucking face. I'm sick of him like going viral with every fucking nonsensical bullshit comment that he makes and all of his fucking lunatic. Like he just. All right, I'm gonna stop. Fuck Van Hal. That's my
You must
final
have
one.
liked the. I mean, come on, what about the sex masochism comment? That was pretty
Yeah,
funny. You heard that one?
I think like I can laugh at all that stuff and I think it's great. But
Just
what I
funny
hate,
hearing a Dutch man say sex masochism. It's
I
just funny.
know, but like I don't even like I actually like I don't really hate the man despite all of that stuff that I just said.
No,
What I
it's the
hate
presentation of it, isn't it?
yeah,
It's
the
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 yeah,
fandom
yeah,
around
yeah.
it, and like just the notion
That's
that
it.
because he says stupid shit, like that also actually makes him a great manager as well. Like I hate like people jizzing themselves silly over like stupid shit that is just not even. I don't know. I'm a hater. Like just put me down. I'm a salty, sour faced hater, and my team didn't even make it to the World Cup, and I need to satisfy my passion by having rants against other teams' managers, and that's fine. And if I've offended you, good.
So yes, and that's the football on the pitch. What about culturally, society wise? Did Qatar do the right thing by banning drinks at the stadium? Because arguably, maybe that gets the violence down, and maybe women and children can go to the football games. Or do you think that, you know, that should be people's choices because
I think
you're going there?
here's so oftentimes the way I will assess like a the morals or ethics of a situation is I look at what is the established norm that we have and how is that being reinforced or is it being like evenly like kind of distributed or whatever. So like personally when it comes to like alcohol in stadiums, I think banning it is actually perfectly fine, especially like you have some of these countries whose fans are like notoriously rowdy, not going to say any names, but like it does happen like
Ireland.
yeah, known terrible fans Ireland, but
Yeah. When you think awful fans, you go, it's those Irish.
yeah,
Happy, having a good time, not bothering other
cleaning up
people,
after themselves, yeah.
cleaning up after
So-
themselves, fucking scumbags.
but you get like I think no alcohol in stadiums. I think it's fine. However, a big issue that I have with it is Budweiser pay like a fucking astronomical sum, like in order to get their drink to be the leading brand, like the name brand on all the kegs, like all that kind of thing. In previous years, when a FIFA event would take place in a country where these laws exist, FIFA would just come in and be like, all right, listen, we got paid the big bucks by Budweiser, and if you want this tournament to take place here, you're going to change this piece of legislation. And that's what Brazil did.
Yeah,
You're not allowed to drink
yeah,
alcohol
that's
in football
exactly
stadiums
it.
in Brazil, but they changed that law, right? So Now that's shady. That's scummy. And like you know, on one hand, I am kind of like on Qatar's side here. Like that's not their cultural norm. That's not what they do. But I hate this double standard. Like if you're a Brazilian, you kind of are now going to be looking at FIFA like, oh well, like fuck us then. You know, like Qatar must have paid a certain amount of money, or like we all know. Like it's an open secret, and not even a good one, that like this entire fucking organization operates through bribery and brown envelopes. Like that's just the fucking nature of the business. It is what it is.
Since day one.
Yeah,
I've read
exactly.
a very long, very, very detailed book on the history of FIFA. Now, this has to be said as well. Pre-FIFA, you could argue it was even worse. We're talking bribes to break players' legs. We're talking FAs being bribed by certain teams because you didn't have a governing body that
Mm-hmm.
kind of oversaw. You had each countries, but then that's all kept in house. Therefore, the corruption is all kept in house. Therefore, it's systemic that it trickles down to. You could even say that, for example, Franco, who was I mean, a lot of people don't think he's a dictator, but I think he's an authoritarian, sort of dictatorish guy in
Mm-hmm.
Spain. He made sure that Real Madrid, his team, got a lot of more money, got a lot more financial rights, got a lot more exposure, which is why in the 60s, Real Madrid won as many Champions Leagues as they did, while he was kind of not funding Barca, Atletico, and a bunch of other teams to the same degree. So
Yeah.
FIFA then comes into existence and says, hey, we'll look after every single one of these associations because, again, if you think if you think there's corruption in Europe, you can only imagine what was going on in South America back then.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so they kind of picked it up, oversaw the whole thing, but then they are corrupt in their own way because for them it's all about money. So as you said, you went to the point where Qatar pretty much, I think overall Qatar put about 220 billion pounds, sorry, dollars into promotion, acquiring the World Cup, and bribing, shaking the right hands and greasing them up.
Yeah. Yeah.
They'll tell you that's just business. That's just business. That's FIFA business. That's how you get a World Cup. That's how you become. That's how you become a player. Is you have to have money. So they didn't put so much money that they go, you know what? Normally you can go and change the laws, as you said, because Budweiser or fucking Heineken has put in a lot of money, not just to advertise, but obviously at every kiosk, every stand, every bit, their stuff. Well, they've gone, we can afford to pay Budweiser to fuck off. We can afford to pay FIFA not to enforce these things.
Yeah.
So it's
Exactly.
kind
Yeah.
of like it's a Hydra type situation because all of the heads are just as evil as the other one, no matter whose head you cut off, which they probably do if you're gay or something like that in those countries. And then that's what we get into. There's an arrogance from the Western media to say everything should be exactly like it is for us, and if your country doesn't abide by our rules, then you're definitely in the wrong. That's not on. But then the other side of that is when you persecute a minority, whether it's based on color, whether it's based on class, whether it's based on um, gender, whether it's based on sexuality, whether it's based on anything that, again, people in theory do not have any control over. That's when it gets really tricky because it's like, arguably, people that weren't choosing to be gay when they were born, and they also weren't choosing not to be welcomed in certain places. And the fact that they go, you have to respect the rules of our country, you have to respect the rules of our country. Well, sexuality shouldn't be a rule.
Yeah.
But then you can't just go in and go, change your rules then. Go up to the highest of presidential power or political power and say, you need to change this because, gay people, lesbians, non binary people want to get involved in this. They just won't see it like we do. They'll see them as like freaks and fucking, something that's not necessarily good or right. You can't change their minds. And the only way you can be able to change people's minds is through compassion and trying to make them meet you in the middle ground, which I think is kind of what Germany tried to do with that message. I think Denmark wanted to have like a black kit, which just said one love. It was weird
Yeah.
that was banned because they go, oh, FIFA doesn't accept any political statements. Like, well, that's not a political statement. That's a human rights statement. Same as the slaves and all the people that died. It's not political to say that many people shouldn't have died. Someone needs to look into this up to the point where maybe this should have been looked into as we go into the tournament, so that people could maybe be far more aware and make a morally based decision on whether or not they want to go there or support it. But the fact that they hide everything and kind of put everything, obviously they would, why wouldn't they? Put everything behind closed doors, it just makes that all the much harder, because you're almost having to do your own research. You're having to like go off to the side and go, oh, they did all this fucked up shit. So yeah, it's difficult, because I think that the people of Qatar, they have nothing. It's not on them, but the powers that be could have been way more accommodating, and they weren't. So they should be criticized for that, right?
Can you give me a really quick second?
Yeah.
Sorry, I just. Um, I found the whole discussion around like rainbows, all of this stuff, like the fucking rainbow symbol, LGBT colors, like all of this stuff. I think that it's like the cringiest fucking thing from the perspective of like, you know, it's the build up to the tournament and all these countries like England. Harry Kane is like, yeah, I'm gonna wear the fucking rainbow colored armband. Like, absolutely, I am. And then it gets like one day before and like, oh yeah, no, we're not gonna, because we might get a yellow card. Like, dude,
Yeah.
fucking risk the fucking yellow card. Like, oh my fucking god, it's a yellow card on a football pitch for you making like one of the fucking bravest political statements that you can possibly make in the year 2022 in the face of like a World Cup tournament that is absolutely fucking shrouded in controversy, human rights abuses, like a huge spotlight being shone on this kind of world where it's ran by like this theocratical, like, worst possible reading of religious doctrine, and then inflicted on like just innocent like citizens who have done nothing wrong other than like simply being born gay or whatever, and you won't even risk a fucking yellow card. Like, fuck you, man. Like, can you imagine the fucking, you know, the fucking Olympian when like Hitler was there and the dude did the you know, the like Black Power symbol or whatever with his fist in the air. Can you imagine if he was like threatened with a fucking Olympic yellow card and he's like, oh no, I'm not gonna do it. Like, fuck off, man. It's so fucking spineless to me. Like, oh no, I might get a yellow card. Fuck you, dude. Jesus Christ.
Take the yellow
man.
card. I think Roy Keane said something along those lines, didn't he?
Yeah.
Which was like,
Yeah.
take the fucking hit and just deal with it, because if you feel that strongly about it, then surely you have to make that statement.
Yeah.
And even if you are just playing identity politics to say to people back home, hey, look, we stood up for something, even though we kind of treat, you know, maybe not so much gays and lesbians and bisexual people, but non-binary people still, you know, we're amidst of the 2020s satanic panic, which is the
Yeah.
grooming.
Oh,
You know, it's
yeah.
very similar, very similar to that. So it's not like we have our hands aren't clean, and nobody's saying that. But of course, if you're gonna playing whataboutism, then you can never criticize anyone or anything, which would be ridiculous. So yeah, just fucking do it. Just say, hey, you know what? All of us will take the yellow, one game, one time. If the first game of the Champions League of the World Cup, we'll just take the L. You know, if that's how what the punishment is, it's not the heaviest of punishments, but we'll leave the message there, and that message will inspire people 10 years from now, 20 years from now. As you said, the guy that did the who did the fist in the air thing, really fascinating story as well, because there's a black guy that came first, whose name I don't remember, a black guy that came second, and the guy that finished third, he because obviously that became quite iconic, and they were going to build a statue, like a plinth of that, the guy with the hand and the guy in second also doing the hand.
Mm-hmm.
And they asked the guy who finished in third, and they said, do you want your statue to be there as well? And he said no, because that space is then for the people to go in and put the fist up as well. I was like, that's so fucking cool.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, the guy was like that selfless. I think he's like a Danish guy. I don't remember his name. His name doesn't come to mind. But yeah, you make the statement and then you deal with the fallout, because if you feel that strongly about it, which you should, which most people, countries and teams should, in my opinion.
Also, just like, what is the
do it.
fucking problem with your like fucking system of running a country that it's so fucking fragile that the sight of a rainbow is like, what? I don't understand like any of this. You know, like this this Balenciaga thing that's going on, or fucking all of this other shit where like the right are saying, like these fucking Matt Walsh and like pricks like this are saying like, oh yeah, there's like drag shows involving kids and they're grooming them and whatever. Like, do you think that when I see the Balenciaga advert, you know, that thing, do you need me to explain this controversy, or do you know
Yes.
about it? Okay,
No, I know nothing about.
so
I heard Balenciaga from
the,
Kanye of all people.
yeah, we'll get there. So Balenciaga are like a clothing company, and they have always had these extremely, let's say, noteworthy slash risque slash very out there and edgy types of ad campaigns and like catwalk shows and stuff like that. Like they've done a lot of like weird stuff now, not necessarily nefarious, but like different. But they had an ad campaign recently where they had these little kids, like, I mean, probably like 5, 6, 7 years old, and they're holding these teddy
Right.
bears that are dressed in like kind of what looks a lot like BDSM, like bondage type gear. Now,
Leathery stuff.
yeah, and like kind of
Right.
straps and whatever. Now these are the teddies I'm talking about, not the kids. But anyway, if you
Right.
there's like a table behind them, and if you zoom in on the table, there's a piece of paper, and it's got like the reading of a famous landmark court case. Sorry, no, it's not a court case. It's actually a law. Some internet child porn protection law is written on the paper.
Okay.
And yeah, so it's a really weird ad campaign. Okay, like I at no point am I going to defend Balenciaga or say that this is good. Like
No. You're
it's
just
weird.
telling me what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
now it's weird. Okay, but the way that the right are reacting to this, you would swear that when I look at it, I'm gonna be like, you know what? I didn't want to fuck a kid before, but looking at this, you know, it actually adds. You've got the bear, you've got the law. Like, yeah, actually, fucking kids is good. Like, nobody is going to think that or say
Yeah.
that. So, like, like,
And
so
if you do, you already do.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly,
If you
exactly,
are, I mean,
yeah,
again, this isn't the justification. Obviously, it's not an endorsement, but if you are that way inclined, it's not going to be an advert
yeah.
with the
So.
fucking bears that's going to be like, I'm now I wasn't a pedophile prior to this. I've now become a pedophile.
Now, let's say
That's
you're a
just,
higher
yeah.
up in the Qatar government structure, right? Whatever. Is your
Hmm.
idea that the mere sight of a rainbow is going to turn people gay? Like, is that the idea? Is that why you're so afraid of it being broadcast or whatever? Like, I understand why we're not allowed to wave swastikas in public squares, right? Is because that symbol is like responsible for the deaths of like millions, blah blah blah, like whatever. Okay, but like a
We know this,
rainbow,
yeah.
like let's get real here. It's a fucking rainbow on a, like, come
Yeah.
on, dude. Like, what the fuck kind of harm? How fucking fragile is your society if you're afraid of it being torn apart by a fucking rainbow image? It's the whole thing is so fucking
Yeah.
cringe to me. I'm sorry, but you cannot like have the expectation that you're allowed to participate in these grandiose scale, billions of viewers levels of
Global events, which
yeah,
means
yeah,
catering to everybody, right?
exactly, and also like put out such a significant portion of like what we all have come to accept as like, you know, like these are just like, it's just, I don't know, dude. It makes it's just cringe. Like, I know that it's so much more than cringe. I know that the stakes are way higher than me cringing. But like, I just hear this shit and I'm like, come the fuck on, dude. And all the people on Twitter who are like, ah, well, it's their culture. They're like, fuck you. Like, you're part of the fucking problem as well. Like,
That's the
I don't know,
point. It's like
man.
it is their culture. Not. I'm not trying to erase your fucking culture here, but like
Yeah.
thinking how you think about flags or one love or love for all or respect everybody's choices. That was also not a thing everywhere else for a
Yeah, yeah.
while. And we've still got a long way to go, but we slowly started dismantling these things because obviously sexuality has been, not whatever you deem to be normal. That's not been the norm for as far back as time itself.
Yeah, well,
So
the Spartans were all fucking each other, so
the
I don't know.
Romans had big male orgies.
Yeah, yeah.
Some women there too, but like you don't have to look that far. You just have to know where to look historically to know that sexuality has always been a very broad spectrum, and
Yeah.
it's only been usually comes from through religion that it dictates these rules. But you're right. Like you could say in this country, it's. I mean, I don't know if it's illegal to be gay there, but I'm pretty sure it's not legal either. If that makes
It's
sense, to get
illegal
married.
and it is theoretically punishable by death. So it's not like you're not actually going to get sentenced to death for being gay. But I think if you do like some, I don't know what the offenses would be, but like the
If
repeat
you display
offenses.
it'll be public displays on it. It'll be like if you kiss a dude, if you hold hands with a dude,
Yeah,
if
no,
you
you're going away for
go
a
on a
long time.
date with another man. Yeah, you're going to the gulags or whatever their version of that
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
And you won't be treated very nicely, obviously.
You'd
And
probably be killed, to be honest. You'd probably end up having killed
you'd
yourself in
be
a hotel
disappeared,
room.
wouldn't
Just
you?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So then there's probably less voices that are outspoken about it. It's a classic. It's a classic thing. It's a classic power struggle between the haves and the have-nots. But if you're a citizen coming in, if I'm going to Romania, if I'm going to fucking Holland, if I'm going to New Zealand, at no point do my clothes or sexuality become a reason why I should or shouldn't get there. So
Yeah,
it kind of sucks that the place where the football is, and football is arguably the most played sport, is meant to be sport so basic that you can play it all the way down to Sunday League, all the way down to your local park, all the way up to Champions League finals, World Cup finals. It's meant to be enjoyed by everybody. So when it feels like certain people don't even have the option or the right to do so, well then you're not hosting a global event, therefore you probably should have been given the keys to the fucking castle because
yeah, exactly.
you don't have the responsibility to look after everybody and feed everybody on the table.
And
If
I
everybody's
just,
not being fed on the table,
I also
what's the
like.
difference?
I
Go,
don't
sorry, go
think
ahead.
that. I don't think everyone has to wear the rainbow armband, right? Like, if they don't want to, they don't want to. Like, I don't care. I'm not gonna make
Hmm.
anyone do anything. But you fucking said you would. Like, you fucking came out
Yes.
publicly, said that you were gonna do it, and then fucking pussied out at the last minute. It's just such a
Which is
fucking
worse?
yeah, it is. It's an act
Don't
of
say
just
you're gonna do it and not do
cowardice.
it.
Like
Yeah.
I know that like people get killed in Qatar for like expressions of gay rights or whatever. I don't think that they're gonna fucking disappear Harry Kane. That's just my personal opinion on the matter. I think it's in their best interests to not fucking start an international incident like that. And
Yeah.
it's just I don't. No one has ever been booked for a symbol on their armband. Or at least if it has
No.
happened, I certainly don't fucking know about it.
We've
It's
seen
nonsense.
more than
Like
enough Nazi signs coming from Hungary fans. We've
yes,
seen
yeah.
Nazi signs coming from players themselves, like Turkish players, I believe, have done it.
Paolo Di Canio.
Paulo Di Canio famously that said that I don't think he understood what it meant. Wayne Hennessy had a little photo taken when he was
That was
doing it. Like,
hilarious. Yeah.
how you doing? And he's like, I had no idea. I was just
I'm
white and
looking
very
forward to learning
particular.
more about Hitler and the Jews. Like,
Yeah, yeah, very particular hand salute there, sir. But
yeah.
give him the benefit of that, say he didn't know. But if he does it again, then obviously he's a fucking freak.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, so I think that's the duality of it all. Is that like on the pitch, football's been great. I'm sure the stadiums are incredible. I'm sure the hotels from everything seems to be top notch. But then when it comes to expression of freedom of expression, I sound like one of those fucking guys on Twitter
You sound
who's
like
like
Alex Jones.
everything should be allowed. I'm not saying everything
Yeah.
should be allowed. I'm just saying that like expression of love shouldn't be banned. But um,
This
yeah,
is
I think that's what I
this
can say about the World Cup.
you think this is a good opportunity to segue to Twitter and Elon and all that?
Yeah, we might as well jump into that now. Yeah.
Well, the
So I know you love them all. You love Andrew Tate. You love Dr. Jordan Peterson, whatever his fucking name is.
he has me
Doctor.
blocked on Twitter. You know that? I'm blocked by him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Why is that? Did you leave any comments or something?
Yeah, he so this was the right wing sort of okay, and here's I'm going to be fairly charitable here until I'm not anymore. But I'm going to start this off by saying when I say the right, I'm going to include people who claim to be on the left. So people like Jordan Peterson
Oh,
and
yeah,
Tim
yeah, yeah,
Pool.
yeah. Classic liberal. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
Dave Rubin, whatever. Okay, like they are on the right. They espouse right wing talking points. Their criticisms are only ever for the left. Their signals are only ever boosted by the right. For all intents and purposes, when I say coming from the right, I might as well be talking about Jordan Peterson. So just shut the fuck up if that's your like semantic argument. Like, actually, he's a liberal. Like, he fucking isn't. But he. So the
It's the
entire.
grifters. It's the grifters. It's the internet people. They're not left or right or anything. They're just outrage machines, aren't they? But they
I
mostly cater to the right. Yes.
I genuinely don't think Peterson is actually a grifter. I think he's just reached a kind of. I think there's something about him is like short circuiting. I don't know.
Hmm.
There's a few like here's I'll set the scene. The entire
Sure.
anti the groomer, all the groomer discourse, which is when people on the right are kind of acting like the LGBTQ, like this is some kind of pedophile coalition, is kind of what they've pivoted to. This really fucking bizarre talking point. I honestly thought that we were making good progress. I thought that the right, they certainly always say the right things now, where it's like, oh, I just don't think that the government should be involved in marriage. But yeah, if two guys want to get married, like whatever. But it turns out they didn't actually mean that. They were just saying that for optics. And it turns out that
Yeah,
it
to
was a
get
lie, and
certain
that
groups
they,
on their side. Yeah.
yeah, they seem to genuinely believe that a lot of that basically pedophilia comes from within the LGBTQ, which is kind of bizarre. But so anyway, this all caught me by
Yeah, because
surprise.
it's not like noncing around. It's not like being a fucking little nonce is really a new age thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Last
Yeah,
last few, I want to say, since about 2002, 2003, certainly being in Portugal, there was a very, very famous case of a lot of TV presenters and a lot of people in the Christian branch of Portugal being caught, imprisoned, whatever. So it seems to come from all directions, is what I'm saying. But
yeah,
they're
like
really trying to pin it down to those groups, aren't they?
yeah, like Jimmy Savile or whatever, like that, like these abuses of
Yeah.
power, like this kind of thing absolutely does happen. But yeah, so anyway,
Hmm.
um, the reason this is just why Peterson blocked me. There
Sure.
was a quote from a woman who is like not the CEO, maybe the COO of Disney. I
Hmm.
cannot remember her name, right? But she was asked the question. This was around the time of the "Don't Say Gay" bill by DeSantis, when that was being kind of pushed through before it had actually been brought into action. Um,
Hmm.
and someone in Disney, this lady, I can't remember her name. I should have really brought the facts, but I didn't even know I'd be talking about this. But anyway, so she's like asked,
No, and I should note that everything here is we haven't like we normally take notes and stuff and have a lot of pre-preparation, but
yeah,
we thought we'd do this one off the top of the dome. So please don't fact check every single thing that we say.
yeah, and also go fuck yourself.
Nice.
But so anyway,
Yeah. No, who's got time to do that? Come on, get a life.
this lady was asked a really simple question like, do you believe in LGBT representation, something like that, and she said,
Hmm.
yes, of course. I am the mother of two queer children. I have one trans child and I have one non-binary child. I think that's what she said. And then Peterson replied to her, or quote tweeted it, saying something to the effect of, uh, in quotation marks, a non-binary
Hmm.
child. We have now reached a point where nobody knows what the hell anybody even means anymore. Something like that. He basically made it seem like she was making a wild statement. And I replied to him saying, you are a clinical psychologist and you don't know what non-binary is? That's a fucking yikes from me, dog. Okay, now fair enough if he blocked me. I was a cunt. But then this was the first time I was made aware of all the groomer stuff. The entire fucking army of Peterson fanboys all started replying to me, calling me a groomer. And I was like, hold on a fucking second, what? Um, and then so someone was like, what, you think it's okay to diagnose a child as non-binary? And I was like, do you understand that when a mother is talking about her children, that does not mean that they are minors, right? Like a woman can say, I have a homosexual child. Like what she means, like the child can be fucking 45, it's still gonna be her child though.
A
That's like
child. Yeah.
it's like what she means is I am the mother of a non-binary person. It didn't mean I have a fucking 4-year-old non-binary. Like it's just so, man, they're so
Yeah.
fucking dishonest and wouldn't even take like the 45 seconds to fucking Google this statement and see if it's true. I looked
Mm.
this woman up after. She's got like fucking 7 kids or something. They're all like adults, every single one of them. She's like fucking 57 years old or something like that. Like she's not going around with
Yeah.
toddlers and saying, "Oh yeah, these kids are transgender because I'm indoctrinating them, whatever," and then I can do some weird pedophile satanic shit. Like, oh man, they've lost their fucking minds completely, and they're like. I'll give Peterson a lot of charitability. I'll be really fair to the guy as much as I possibly can. Like I don't think that Peterson is
That
a
was
Nazi.
attached to.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But like
Might
honestly,
as well be
yeah.
you.
But like no one will actually like I know that he speaks with a lot of kind of waffle. He chops up a lot of word salads and stuff. But no one on the left will actually give him a fair shake. Like a lot of the times they'll just be like, here's 30-second thing out of context. This means he's a Nazi. Like he says a lot of yikes things, but he very often does actually qualify them with other things. Now, when he qualifies them, that's when you're allowed to argue and push back because he does talk a lot of waffle. But most people don't even put in the effort to actually learn what the fuck he's saying in the first place. And that really annoys me. But all of that aside, I can't understand what it
Mhm.
would be like to be Jordan Peterson, right? Let's say you're operating in good faith and you
Mm.
get this one bit of pushback and you block the person because they were mean to you, like I was to him. It would really alarm me if someone gave me pushback on a point, right? And I blocked them. But I see all my
Right away.
fans interacting with them and they're calling him a pedophile just for saying this. That would give me pause. Like, I would be like, hold on, is there something about my messaging that's
Yeah.
implying that
What
I
am I
think
putting
that.
out there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I
Yeah.
just think
Yeah.
that it's really fucking weird.
Mm.
And the subtext there is, I don't think it's weird at all. I think it's calculated. But I just think it's so strange that all these
Sure.
guys seem to have all of these like fucking, oh, like we're so charitable, marketplace of ideas, blah, 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 blah. But it doesn't seem to bother you when your fans are like outwardly saying shit like all LGBT people are pedophiles and all this. Like, I just don't, it's fucking bizarre. Like, it's a
Yeah.
fucking really bizarre thing. And it came out of nowhere. Like, they loaded this up into
Yes.
the canon in like May or June of this year and launched it.
Yeah.
And like I didn't even know that they had the gunpowder for that kind of thing. I thought we were all cool. Like I didn't think that the right loved the gays, right? Like I'm not a fucking moron, but I did think that they had begrudgingly become tolerant of them because they accepted that it's
Yeah, because they
optically
have
very
like a
bad.
branch.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, they have like a branch of conservatives in whatever fashion or form as like social conservatives, fiscal conservatives who are gay,
Yeah,
who are
exactly.
lesbian, who are bisexual, who are a little bit more, a little bit less traditional, whatever the Christian nationalist values are.
Yeah, yeah.
But you'd have there's also a little space for you guys, but it seems that the outrage clicks and the reactionary immediate profits override the fact that you could have you can be seen as an ally for these other groups so you can actually nurture them into your tribe and your political side because you can go, hey, we still tolerate quote unquote, we still look after our own, this, no matter if they're black, white, Asian, Japanese, French, whatever background you are, it doesn't matter, because if you feel like you're conservative, that means we share the same core values, which then means we can be on the same room. Whereas it feels like they've gone completely in the extreme ones. Of course, there's going to be, you look into specifics, there's an exception to every rule, but it does feel like the mainstream conservative reactionary people, the ones that tweet 40 to 15 times a day about every
Yeah.
news story, they seem to have just planted their feet by going, if you are gay and or lesbian and or bisexual and or trans, and if you're remotely associated with drag shows, gay clubs, night bars, gay nights, you don't have theme nights about specific things, culturally speaking, or sexual, about people's sexuality. It feels like if you're anywhere on board with that, if you watch RuPaul's Drag Race, you are nonce, you are
Yeah,
a
yeah,
pedophile.
yeah.
And this is why I mentioned it feels like the Satanic Panic Part 2, because when I long story short, people who don't know, I have a media studies degree, so I did a lot of research into what was, the big stories going into the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and up until I graduated, which would have been in the mid 2010s, which is such a weird thing to say. Mid 2010s sounds such a 2010s. I don't know.
May
Sounds weird. Tens.
2010. That's mid
Yeah,
2010.
yeah, the tens. And I did a lot of research into it, and IRA, Satanic Panic. This is culturally probably more based here in England where I live. Um, but the Satanic Panic thing was literally going, it got distilled all the way down to if you listen to rock music, you are just as much of a Satanist and a cultist, and you drink the blood of children as the actual people that Satanists and people who do that. Like, it's the same thing with the pedophilia thing. Well, pedophilia seems to come from all walks of life, just like murderers, rapists, killers, and mostly men. Let's face it.
Hmm.
They come from all walks of, if not all men, or 90% of men. They seem to come from all walks of life, but they're really trying to hone down by making it a one-way street, which goes, if you're accepting of gay rights, or if you're accepting of sex workers, or if you're accepting of trans people expressing themselves, you are a groomer, like people said to you in the comments. You are just as bad as the worst of the worst, or they'll throw in a whole like, did you know Hitler was a leftist? I don't give a shit. He was a
That
fucking
is
horrible
the.
person.
He
If
wasn't by any fucking like. Yeah, sure. If you know nothing about anything, like it's such a
Yeah,
fucking
is
nonsense
that like,
argument.
is he a leftist in the same way that the People's Democratic Republic of China is actually democratic and public and free? You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things. Where the Russian
Yeah,
Federation is like an actual open
North
free.
Korea, fucking Democratic Republic of
Yeah,
Korea. Fuck you.
yeah, the People's North Korea, or the fucking, yeah, exactly. Like, yes, if you literally look at it from the fact that they call themselves National Socialists, literally those words should be associated with people who would lean to one side, but they don't, and they didn't, and they haven't. So don't fucking try and do that. But back to this thing where they label everybody else. And by the way, that's just the current trend. I'm sure we can sit here and pick apart 22 trends for 2022 of each way the right was trying to go, because sometimes they dump Trump, and sometimes they love him. Sometimes they dump these other people, but then they go, oh, maybe we need them back.
Here,
And
here's
this goes all the
a
way up. So yeah,
here's the thing that so you know what I was saying earlier about when you asked me about the alcohol in the stadiums in Qatar, and I said like
sure.
when I'm like assessing these things, I'll look at what the landscape is, and then I'll see if it gets like I'm not like a guy who will ever like set the rules. Really, like I know what my principles are, what I like, and I try and be as
Yeah,
consistent
what
as
you
I possibly can.
believe in and what you
Yeah,
stand for.
sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, the right has done a really good job since around 2015 or so in sort of popularizing this notion of the marketplace of ideas. Your ideas are blah, blah, blah. Like, we don't judge anyone in between. You just say your ideas. We argue which ideas are better. So, like, I'm on board with that. The right kind of convinced me of that. And so I was like, okay, so if I'm arguing with a conservative person, I will just like say my points. I will argue against theirs, and like they'll either be convinced or they won't. But like I've done my part. I've met them on their terms. I feel like they don't actually believe that, and like here's what makes me really sus about it. So like you have like Matt Walsh, this guy. He writes for the Daily Wire, just for the listeners, if you guys don't know who he is, and he has had
So hang on, because I've seen this motherfucker's trailers that have come up on my YouTube.
Yeah.
The ads,
He
and he's really taken it upon himself to define what genders are, or really
he's on this
take
gender
moral
crusade,
authority on who's what.
and he has been going on about this for. Hold on, sorry. Let me where
Since like
was
what,
I?
2017? It usually begins with Trump.
I would say the
Usually these
last
people.
year he seems to have gotten like a lot of like what do you call it? A lot of positive reinforcement from his audience since he started moving into this gender
Traction.
stuff. Yeah, traction, that's the
Yeah.
one, yeah. So like he says all of this stuff, right? And then like he had this incident where he kind of like doxed a gender clinic at a hospital, which resulted in this hospital, I believe it was in Massachusetts, getting like a bomb threat and stuff. And then we had the shooting at the gay bar or whatever. Matt Walsh is like he genuinely believes that he has like no culpability whatsoever in this. Now, I think I think I can put myself in his shoes and kind of, if I genuinely believed that every single person had their own free will, it was up to them to decide, and I didn't have that much of an influence that I would make people do these things. Okay, I can meet him there and like understand why
Hmm.
he thinks he might have no culpability in it whatsoever. Okay, but you can't simultaneously believe that and then believe that someone who goes to a drag show is going to become a pedophile, right? Because then you're kind of removing the concept of free will from everybody. So when it comes to being responsible for your
Yeah, 'cause
own
you're saying I know
actions,
better.
you're
I know what
like,
happens at these places, right?
yeah, like so everyone actually has free will. That's why I'm not responsible. But then something bad happens involving, like, I don't even know, has there been a single case of grooming in these clubs that they're like so outraged about, or if it's just those like kind of yikes pictures of like like I don't even know, is someone dressed in like a thong with like tape over their nipples while they're holding the hand of a kid? I think that's like, that's not a good, like, that's not a good look. Like, it's kind of a little bit, I don't think I would want my kid around that. Do I think that that's pedophilia? No. There's a like
Exactly,
it
and
takes a
that's the
lot to
difference.
actually like determine what pedophilia is, and it's certainly not that, right? Like, fucking go to
Yeah,
Carnivale in Brazil, which is like an open fucking parade that goes through like almost every city in the fucking country, and
that's
people are
right.
dressed exactly like that. Okay, so like
They
you
have
can't
them in
just,
Portugal too. Yes,
yeah,
you people
right,
are very scantily clad.
yeah,
Women,
and it's just,
nowadays you're probably gonna get just as many blokes doing it, but mostly it'd be women in thongs and this and that. And you're like, okay, that sexualization in front of children's fine, I guess, and the
yeah.
other one not so much.
I
But the
just
idea
don't.
is that one of them is meant to be good family, wholesome entertainment, and the other one's meant to be this like fucking dark sided. Well, it's a fucking, it might as well be pedophilia because it's a drag show. It's like, well, if you go into a drag show, generally it's very cheeky. It's
It's
like
like
very
panto. It's
pantomime.
panto. Yeah, it's literally just the
Yeah,
same
but you're
fucking
not getting
concept.
exactly. So it's yes, it's just a different place. You know,
Yeah,
a
and
different building you're going into.
it just, I just can't. It's the same as the Qatar thing, where like they think that by being exposed to the rainbow, people are going to be morally corrupted. Like, the right seem to think the same thing. They think that like the cultural impact of the LGBTQ is somehow tearing society apart. It's tearing at the fabric of society. Like, I just don't. It's the same way that people during the satanic panic, they wouldn't want their kids listening to Motorhead or ACDC or whatever because they think that they're
Right.
genuinely going to become satanic. Like, you can't believe in free will when it comes to absolving yourself of all responsibility and then simultaneously absolve yourself of the belief of free will when it comes to something that you're ideologically opposed to existing in the mainstream. Like,
Yeah.
just, this is so fucking dishonest. It's such a huge like um I don't know, it's an elephant in the room. No one would ever fucking ask them about it or whatever, so it just is what it
No, and
is.
that's
But
why really, I think we talked about this, and that's always what I found strange that like whenever they are interviewed or in a situation where with somebody who doesn't exactly agree fully with what they believe, the arguments and pushbacks are just as awful as those hot takes about drag shows being pedophilic and being fucked up like that. What
yeah.
they what they get dragged up on isn't so much what they stand for as human, which is harsh. I know it's hard to just have a conversation with somebody and start questioning who they are as people and why is it that they choose to think the things that they do, and are they doing it for outrage or are they doing it because they genuinely believe it? Because I wouldn't want somebody else coming after me asking me those things, even if I
Yeah.
believed in what is essentially even and fair and right, which is, everyone should have a voice.
Yeah.
um, Everyone should be
Radical,
heard.
eh?
But then you kind of yeah, but then you kind of go into dark pockets because you go, what if somebody was a Nazi? Could he get a seat at the table? What if somebody was like um, anti-Western and they just hated all Western people and they were like really pro ISIS? Should they have a seat at the table?
What if someone
And
was a
that's when you get
Coldplay
into
fan? You know?
yeah, yeah. What if someone was a Muse listening to Muse and told me they're the greatest band of all time? Should they have a seat at the table?
Then they are actually a
Oh,
pedophile. That's different.
grooming confirmed. But
Yeah.
that's a joke. I don't want that out there. It's like they think that these fans are nonsense. Yeah, all of you. No. So and also you got to know parody and comedy as well. It's, we're sarcastic enough, but I do feel like surely they're all very aware of the fact that they get pushed back all the time, but they've reached such a high level of audience retention and such a level of financial gain that the only only way to go is to go further and further and further and further. And the problem is, as more and more people leave Twitter, and this would be a good jumping off point to talk about Elon after this,
Yeah.
but as more and more people leave Twitter, there's less voices speaking out against those people, which then means they get more emboldened because you're then consistently speaking to your audience. You are consistently delivering the message of what they want to hear, and therefore you're emboldening them and making them believe that what they think is actually true. And that's going to be the hardest thing to fight. It's not so much that people shouldn't be allowed to speak. That's not what we're saying here. What we're saying is you should have a responsibility to also be called out for your stupid shit that you say. Just like I should be called out for the stupid shit that I say. Because if I say something that's ignorant and wrong, I want somebody to pull me aside and go, hey, you shouldn't say stuff like that because that is not how you should say this stuff about the Moroccan football team despite beating Portugal. You shouldn't say that they're shit.
If anyone comments in defense of Louis van Gaal, I will block them from my fucking show.
That's different. But that's opinion. What you think about Louis van Gaal.
Yeah,
and there's no fact that someone's going to go, he's won 10 trophies in 1993, and you go, well, I still don't like his weird press conference. It's a different thing. But since this fucking clown's bought Twitter is probably busier, which is what he wants. He wants the clicks, he wants the retainment, he wants to keep people on the app.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's far less healthy, far more toxic, and far less open. Because actually, what happens is now you're getting funneled into specific topics and corners, not so much as before, where maybe it was more like an open field for stupid shit, for whatever the fuck you want to write. I feel like this guy is so obsessed with keeping the people engaged on Twitter that he's talking about Elon here, that he's also an outrage machine.
Yeah,
I don't believe that he believes half the things that he believes. I do believe that he knows that those things will get traction. Does that make sense?
Yes, I fully agree. I think Elon Musk at the moment is essentially, he wants Twitter to be a bug light for conservatives and right-wing people, because the thing about people on the right is that they're actually really they're loyal with who gets their business as long as they are like ideologically aligned with them. And I've noticed this where it's like some fucking, like, you can be literally like, what's a name of business, Miguel? And you have like a fucking a crisp
Brewdog.
Brewdog. Okay, like so let's say a brewing company comes out and their whole thing, they've got a fucking, their new IPA is called Double Think, right? And their advert is, "Are you sick of liberal breweries?" Like all you have to do is say that, and all the conservatives will be like, "Oh fuck, this is literally the best fucking beer I've ever had in my entire life," and it'll taste like piss, but they'll fucking love it, man, because it'll have like fucking stars and stripes on the logo, fucking this new fucking
made
fuck
in
you
America,
liberals IPA,
country.
They fucking love this, they fucking eat it up, and I think Elon is doing that. I read a thing about a year ago, I think it was over a year ago, talking about Tesla's business strategy, and how most of the people who own Teslas are actually liberals. They vote Democrat, they're left-leaning, blah, blah, blah. And so Elon has like...
Because of the whole green aspect of things.
Exactly,
because of the whole energy and... It's more associated with people who are trying to be a little bit more left-leaning, a little bit more perhaps conscious of their carbon footprint. Yes.
Elon also has a weird... I call him Elon. I'm on first name terms with him because I know him personally, so I'm allowed to call him
Musky Boy.
Musky Boy.
The big Musk.
But I think he actually has some sort of business incentive to get right-wing people to buy cars. I think it's going to be very hard for him to push
his cars. You mean?
Yeah, to buy
cars.
To buy Tesla. It's going to be really hard for him to push the the docking station or the charging stations like into the rural areas where most conservatives are. But I think that is his goal. I think I genuinely do. Oh man, I have such a weird opinion of Elon Musk, right? Like I don't like the guy, but most of the attacks against him are so fucking annoyingly stupid that I always have to defend him, and so people think I love him and that I'm a fanboy of his. But I'm legit like, look at his fucking tweets. The dude is fucking
You
cringe
didn't have to get
AF.
a tattoo of his, did you?
I have the Tesla logo on my forehead, and it's backwards, so I can see it when I look in the mirror. Fucking love Tesla. First,
You didn't have to do that, so it is what it is.
I was about to make a really R-rated joke, and I remember that sometimes my mother listens to this podcast, so I'm not going to. But anyway,
Good.
the what you call it? What was I saying there? So some
The
things about
liberals
Elon
and
Musk,
Elon.
right? I don't think that Elon Musk is like the most bad faith argument against him is oh yeah, well he's like a white guy who succeeded in apartheid South Africa from a diamond mine, blah blah blah, whatever. And like they have tried running hit pieces on him. Like they've tried interviewing people that he went to school with. Like by all accounts, this dude was against apartheid and had like more black friends than like any other white kid in South Africa around the time. So like that's a nonsense argument. You have to stop saying that he's a racist because you don't like him. Okay, you have to not like him on the terms that he is not likable, rather than just making shit up because it suits your stupid fucking narrative. Like it's so fucking lazy and it really fucking annoys me.
Because if you turn that, arguably, I mean, I don't know anything about the guy as far as his life. I know more about his businesses and his
Yeah.
business mind and his comments about the business stuff, which we kind of loops over now, because now it's both business and Twitter and owning Twitter and outrage machine. But
Yeah.
you're right, because if you start painting too many people with the same brush of being a racist or misogynist, you end up and this isn't I know a lot of people have said this, and I'm trying not to sound like I'm parroting other people's points, but you can then drop that label on anybody because they disagree with you on something else, and you shouldn't do that either. And you're right, there's much like Trump or Farage, and he's not the same as them by any means. He's
No.
political
Although he
ambitions.
is
He's
getting
a
there.
businessman.
Yeah.
And when we get down to when he's doing the podcast on Alex Jones talking about how much he likes Nazis, then we can talk about that too.
Yeah.
But for generally speaking, like, yeah, you don't want to drop the racist brush, because it will then be used as a baseball bat to beat everybody over the head with, because every human being, as much as you want to be a totally amoral, and then not amoral as in you don't have any morals, but as in like you want to be respectful of everybody, your surroundings and your attitude towards certain things are always going to be different than the person next to you, because I haven't lived your experiences. That's why it's about sharing. That's why it's about communicating, because then you get to hear other people's perspectives. But no, like, as far as all the things you can label with this guy, I don't think the racist or even misogyny wise, I hear that a lot of women are suing from Twitter, suing him because he did get rid of a lot more women in proportionate to men. You could always make the argument that he got rid of people.
They
he
were
didn't really think about what their gender was. Do you know what I mean?
These layoffs were announced before Elon took over the fucking company. They were leaving anyway. You can't lay people off when you're pending a takeover, because that would be seen as cooking the books, or it would be like you have to the books that you present when someone reaches a certain threshold for a takeover and it becomes an offer that legally they have to accept, which is the way that Elon went about this Twitter takeover. The shareholders actually pushed for
way
it.
too much, didn't he?
He offered them way too much.
Twice as much.
Yeah, he put them into a position where they had to accept it because of pressure from the shareholders, right? That's the way that it worked. The layoffs were announced in January of this year, the start of the fiscal year. I don't know if it's the start of the fiscal year for a company like Twitter. But nevertheless,
April, so 2022. So you got the second quarter, isn't it?
The only reason they weren't laid off before was because of the takeover. They were laid off as soon as he took over, because that's the only way that the fucking business could continue. Like Facebook laid off 11,000 people as well. This isn't like a grand conspiracy. This is like, I swear to God, people on the left have a really bad they have such a bad understanding of like markets and how capital markets work and how markets respond to like factors within the markets. And like the reality is we're entering a huge economic downturn at the moment. More than likely a lot of companies are going to have layoffs. They're not having layoffs because Elon Musk has come in and he's like, I am a billionaire slumlord and I want nobody to work and I want that's just not the way the fucking world works. And when you you say shit like that and make that your narrative, the only thing that you're signaling to the world is that like you don't know how like big companies operate, you don't know how like employment, like it's a fucking null argument. You have to stop with
Yes.
that shit. Like
And
if you
and
like
I'm not saying that's the right thing to do. I'm not saying that firing people is enjoyable, but I'm saying that like yeah, that happens for every business everywhere ever. Just because
yeah, like it's a
your
multinational
CEO might
company,
be
like
yes,
it's one of
exactly.
the biggest
Because your
companies in the
CEO
world.
might
It's
not be
just
on because your CEO might not be on Twitter and he might not do things so publicly. He might not be so open. They all play the same game. They all use the same strategies. They all cut corners to get they'll make a company look profitable, or they'll get rid of people to make sure the bottom line doesn't dip too much. That's business. Unfortunately, that is societal business.
but
It's just how it is.
it's not even the case with Twitter, because I think Twitter has only ever turned a profit in like 3 quarters, like ever out of, so it's been going since like 2006, 2007. The first time it ever
Hmm.
turned a profit was Q1 2021. They're not like that kind of company. And also, if you look at the severance packages that people got when they left Twitter, they're actually really fucking fair. Like it's like, I'm not saying there's a good way to be fired, a good way to be made redundant or whatever, but like
But
you
I
could,
see what you mean. It's the kind of
yeah,
thing that you would take or I would take if we happened to be in a position to be released, let go, and somebody said, "Here's 6 months severance
exactly,
package," or
yeah,
or
like
whatever. I'd be like, "Yeah, I'll take it." It sucks to be fired, but that is a huge benefit too, right? Right?
now, in saying all of this, I want to be clear. Elon Musk is a cunt, okay? Like, I
But
hate,
they're
like,
all cunts. When they're all that rich, when somebody's that rich, when somebody's acquired that much wealth, I don't care if their intentions are the nicest, the purest. They have had to play the game, which means either stab people or do little coups in your company. Um,
I,
you don't just arrive here by not. Everyone who gets in a position of power usually has had to step over somebody else.
I want to push back
Either
on this
if they mean it
slightly.
or not.
I don't,
Okay.
I don't love this idea, because I think this idea is making the world a worse place. Like, if I were a multi billionaire, right? It would be like, I know the type of person, I give a lot of money to charity. And like I'll watch like a movie where a certain thing happens and it moves me so much that I will find charities that deal with that particular thing, and I'll fucking just give them
Straight
money.
away.
Like
Yeah.
I do shit
Yeah.
like that all the time. Okay, now if I was a billionaire, I would do that on such a mass scale that like I would believe I was like being like nice with my money, generous, whatever. Like Jeff Bezos gave $10 billion to climate change foundations that fight climate change, right?
Hmm.
Elon Musk has done so many like random charitable things for which he could have nothing to possibly gain. Like, and I'm not talking about like Donald Trump has done some charitable things only when there's a publicity spotlight on him for it. It benefit, like, I think Trump is like an actual
Yes.
narcissist. I think Elon is kind of a little bit
Um,
narcissistic, but he
Stephanie McMahon put it best. Yes, I'm bringing her out, but Stephanie
Mhm.
McMahon put it best when she said that philanthropy is also a really good way of marketing your brand, and it is.
Sure,
So
yeah, absolutely. Don't get me
I'm
wrong.
talking about from the Trump perspective,
Yeah, yeah,
which
yeah,
is
yeah,
if I
yeah.
put my name on a charity, it's about me. It's not about what we're doing. It's gonna make me look good, right?
So if you look at like there is a movement, I forget, it's called something effective altruism, is it? I think it's this movement where like billionaires and millionaires are pooling money together into altruistic like ventures or whatever. You can
Hmm.
fucking Google it. It's whatever. I'm not gonna. I don't know the
Because
ins
if
and
you
outs
feel
of it.
guilty about having loads of money, and then
I
you
don't
go, "I'm gonna
know,
give some
dude.
away," it stops
But
that
like,
guilt
is it
from even
possible that
entering your
there
system, right?
is it possible that like you can have a massive amount of money and not be a piece of shit at the same time? Like, I really don't think it's that big of a. If you ever watch Dragon's Den, whenever people are on there, the things that they want to invest in the most are things that are environmentally friendly, for example, or things that have like ethical
Hmm.
ramifications. Like, it's not like having billions of dollars. I'm really sorry for the people that need to hear this. It doesn't mean that you're an inherently bad person, okay? It probably means that you have stepped on some toes. It probably means that you've done like shady things to get ahead. I think that those things happen anyway. I don't think that they're good. I'm not going to defend them or whatever. But like, a reality that you
No,
have to
no, no.
contend
Yeah.
with is that billionaires actually give more money to charity. And the types of people who say shit like, oh yeah, but that's just 1%. That's like me giving €30 to charity. Like, okay, do you give 30 euro to charity? No. So
Have you done
shut the
that?
fuck up. Like, I just,
Yeah.
like, I don't know. You can Google stuff. Like, Elon Musk, the fucking the internet thing with Ukraine that he did, the
The calling that guy a pedophile and the guy
okay,
suing him
fuck
was
you. Like,
weird. What was
no,
that
but like,
about?
making get the laptop computers for kids in Flint, Michigan. Like he's done, like, you can
Oh
just
right.
Google Elon Musk.
All right.
He's done a lot of charitable things. Like, like, I don't know. Like, if you want to say he's a bad guy, like, let's focus on things that he's actually done that make him bad. The pedophile thing is bad. His edgy tweets are super bad. The relationship that he seems to have with his ex-wife, pretty yikes. I would be willing to hear him out on that, but I doubt that he comes out well because he seems like
Well, as
not a
in
very.
Grimes.
No, his the Grimes
He's
stuff
got
is
other kids from a previous relationship.
yeah. I think he has 3 wives,
Yeah.
or maybe 4 now.
Well,
Even so,
his dad married a stepdaughter, so
yeah, his
no,
dad
his dad didn't
also.
literally, yeah.
He
Did.
doesn't.
I mean, he's been very outspoken about his dad being a POS, so
Yeah,
it's not like he's
exactly.
not aware either. You know?
Like, I feel like we've gotten past a point in society where people can have shades of gray. Like, again, I just want to be clear. I think the guy's a cunt, okay? I just don't like bad arguments against him. I think here's
You
a good
want him to
example.
come at him right. You don't want people to come at him with not you as in you're in charge of what should people come up with. I know what you're saying, but as in like if you're gonna go after these people, if you have a big L, a big I don't like this person for this reason. Don't just use. It's the same thing as as we were talking before about well actually that was an off air conversation about people's racism. But I mean is they're going for the long hanging fruit as far as Elon goes, right?
Yeah, and the problem with that is that when you actually argue someone who has the facts, you're going to look like a fool. And here, like, so he tweeted today this fucking nonsense tweet. It was like, my pronouns are prosecute
Yes,
slash Fauci. Okay. Now, this is the shittest tweet I've ever seen in my life. I think if you're in
what
your
is that
50s
about?
tweeting shit, you are so fucking
Yeah,
cringe. Now, it
get a
got me
grip.
it got me to thinking of something, right? You know the way the right talk about Fauci? I know Dr. Fauci is this fucking, he's like the White House doctor guy or medical advisor or whatever the fuck. I don't know. Um, Everyone on the right hates
He's
him.
essentially the top doctor,
Yeah.
like in terms of viruses and that aspect of medicine.
Now,
And
here's the thing,
he's
right?
not an expert on every bit of medicine. He just so happened to be because there was a pandemic about his field that he was presumably promoted to a position where
Yeah.
he's allowed to say what's right and wrong. Something like
Now,
that.
you'll notice everyone on the right hates this guy, and I've seen like so many different criticisms of him, all of which seem batshit insane. Now, here's the point
Well,
I'm
I heard
ultimately making.
he was I heard he was at the Wuhan factory making
Exactly.
it happened.
Exactly. Okay.
That's
Now,
bullshit.
okay, there might be legitimate criticisms of Fauci, right? I don't know what they are. And the reason why I don't know what they are is because I am topped up with ludicrous conspiracy theories against him that are nonsense, right? So I'll never actually be educated on what's wrong because I'm never going to seek out the information because to be honest with you, I don't give a fuck. It's America, it's whatever. Elon Musk has the same thing going on the left, where the criticisms against him are so fucking batshit insane that people will never, people on the right that you want to win over, that you want to show them what a piece of shit Elon Musk is, you're not gonna do it by saying apartheid kid, diamond mine. Like, you have to make fucking real arguments, or no one's gonna listen to you. You have to stop with this fucking bullshit. Like, he called a guy a pedo. Yeah, like, sure, that makes him a scumbag. It doesn't make him like this shady fucking racist, like, whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just fuck off with this. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, we can move on from this. This is the most boring shit ever. I'm really sorry.
No, it's fine. We'll maybe just put a bow on it now.
Yeah, it's whatever. He's making Twitter a worse place, and I hate it.
Yeah, this is my personal opinion. This isn't backed up by facts. This is subjective, not objective. But for me, I think that ever since he took over Twitter, I couldn't give a fuck about what he does at Tesla. I know his business practices are very shady. But we can give you a list as long as my arm of other businessmen who are just as shady, from your local fucking butcher, wherever you live, all the way up to a leader or an owner of a big conglomerate corporation such as Amazon or you name it. I suppose the problem with him also for me comes from the fact that Now, everybody on who's usually on the right likes to talk about being anti-AI, that we don't want our movement controlled, we don't want our internet. We want things to be free, and you want less government interference. And you're stuck in the dick of a guy who's like, no, I want AI in humans. I want to go to Mars and do all these other things that will very much put you under his control and his domain, because
Yeah.
obviously he's the only person who's putting these ideas out there at the moment, who can afford it. So my negative stance against the guy is very much based on it's nothing you said earlier, it's very much based on my core beliefs, that I just think that everything that he stands for mostly is what I'm against as a person. What he tweets is embarrassing and cringe. Okay, fine, that's your decision, you do what you want.
His tweets are
um
awful, dude. Like,
it's the and I will have to say it's probably because I'm pretty sure to some degree the guy's on the spectrum.
he
So
is.
maybe
He literally is.
what
He
the
has autism. Yeah.
yeah, what's on the written word might always be cringe because of the way he puts it across, but he's essentially a 4chan poster, so that's the kind of shit that engages, or 8chan, kind of shit that engages those groups and gives them, hey, look, Elon's on our side, so we can't be
Yeah.
all bad because look, this rich person on the side. No problem with that. But to me, is everything that I see about him, everything I see, everything the way he reacts to things, the way he interacts with human beings. And again, I don't know the guy behind closed doors, so this is obviously all external judgment. I just think that he has a ego problem and he has a insecurity problem.
Yes,
So he even
completely
steals
agree.
memes and he steals people's original creations and he posts them. And I remember the guy from the Motherboard doing a really good back and forth with him about how he stole a meme and he didn't give him credit. And then Elon came back and was like, "Oh, your meme's not as good as you think it is. This is 6 out of 10." And you're like, that's what I'd say when I was 15 online, when I
And
stole a photo and
you
said,
fucking stole it. So like, who cares if
yeah,
it's a
and you
six? That's
stole
not
it.
the. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like if you robbed the local shop and you were like, "Oh, you stole all these beers or you stole all this candy." Oh yeah, but the candy's fucking shit. Your
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
sweets is shit. Well, you still stole them. It doesn't matter about the content. So it's that sort of stuff that I'm, and it's very tiny. I know this isn't business. I know this is want to make some money, but for me, that's usually the stuff that I stand against them for, because I just think that you can do what you want as a businessman. Those are your choices. But if I'm seeing what you're writing and I'm saying you're a fucking idiot, then that's not necessarily
I I
that's
think
my own conclusion. It's not based on him being a racist or not a racist. I'm like, nah,
no,
dude.
no,
And
no.
I've read two books about the guy, because years ago I was told by people that I knew that he was this really like, oh, when he gets a hold of an idea, he really likes to seek it out and go through it. And I was like, well, I'll take what you said, but let me actually look up this motherfucker. And yeah, most of the things he's done, it's push people out, make sure he's center of attention, make sure that he's the seen as the head honcho when he might not be in the past. This is all built up for him now taking over Twitter, and it's the exact same things he did before, so it's not out of character, some of the stuff that he's posting at all. He was posting this before. I just think for the discourse, he is far more toxic. He's far more harm by tweeting what he tweets than he is good.
He's the
That's
walking
the
embodiment of bad vibes. And at the moment,
yeah.
like, you can't. I fucking hate this. Like, the term free speech has turned into a fucking dog whistle. Like, he's there going on about fucking free speech and, like, yeah, we need to have, like, standards and the truth has to prevail, blah, blah, blah. And he's fucking tweeting these conspiracy theories about fucking Nancy Pelosi's brother and whatever. It's like, dude, like,
Or why Trump got
fucking.
taken from Twitter.
Ah,
Like,
fuck.
why
Yeah, and the Twitter files, the biggest
deplatforming a
fucking.
president? Hardcore. Get a
It's
grip, man.
such a fucking nothing burger. Like, it is
Hmm.
the most fuck. You know what? Fuck it. I don't even. No one cares about this shit. This is boring as fuck.
No, this is just this is our little takes. But right.
Yeah.
Um.
Anyway,
So
fuck Elon Musk and fuck off
we'll
and
park
just
Elon there.
yeah, park him there
What
in
did
his
what have you
Tesla.
made from fuck his cars and fuck his fucking
Yeah. Honestly, like
surgically
he's
fit hair?
poisoning.
What?
He's
He's so
poisoning the
cool.
whole. He's a
Why
fucking.
why did he get new hair?
He's just he is just irreparably.
Stick with the hair you got, mate. That's all I'm saying. I don't trust you because your hair's not from your own head. Okay. Yeah, this might be the IPA talking, but
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah,
Can you not just accept you're losing your hair, bro? Do you have to get fake hair? Do you have to get plastic hair?
I'm
Come
gonna
on.
have to stop you because you know full well that in like 10 years I'm gonna be on the first fucking flight over to Turkey when my hair starts thinning.
You, and Rooney. Yeah, we need to go get our plugs. And Al Pacino, he obviously has plugs too. There's
There's nothing
no
wrong with
way.
it. But Elon Musk is a lot of things, and he's a scumbag for a lot of reasons. But having a hair transplant isn't one of them. Okay, if anything, that just makes him more endearing to me. So I'm gonna. That's a point for Elon. That's a point on the board for him.
If you want to get with me, mate, if you want to be my lover, you have to get a shaved head. It's as simple as that.
All right,
Show
noted.
me your hairline now. Yeah. So should we? Okay. We'll see, because Elon could be its own episode.
Yeah, fuck
All in
him.
all, do you think that this is going into next year? But do you think that he will make the space that Twitter exists in on the internet a better space, or do you think it can only get worse? As in, like, more toxic, freedom of speech, quote unquote, more outrage takes because he needs a website to be constantly plugged into the matrix? Or do you think that he will kind of have a moment where he goes, hang on a minute, I am platforming quite a lot of horrible people?
I feel like he will slowly learn why the moderation policy on Twitter was as rigid. Not rigid is the wrong word. As bespoke as it was.
Right. Yeah.
He seems to be running it like a startup company at the moment, like a lot of user feedback and stuff like that. I think that that's a fucking idiotic idea. Like, I honestly, I've worked in startup companies before. I feel like the way Elon is running Twitter has cast serious doubts to me over how good of an actual manager he is. I genuinely believe he's
Right.
a very good hirer of people, and I think he is really good at, like, if he has an idea, he's really good at providing the resources to get that idea over the line. Like,
That's it. Yeah.
and look, and those things are key in management. Okay, so I'm not saying that he's a bad like manager or whatever, but the way that he's running Twitter at the moment seems really fucking ham-fisted and stupid to me. I'm just a guy. I could be wrong.
He's
Okay.
running like a forum like you did when it was, the World Wide Web, and you find
Yeah,
yourself on
dude, like fucking Web
on
1.0 shit going on. Like
yes,
fucking WWE
yes,
chat on Java at the moment is what we're fucking looking
yes,
at. Like,
yes, in which you go on that website, it has its own rules, the swearing, the moderation, but then you maybe go over to an earlier version of 4chan or whatever it used to be called, and then on that forum you can drop an N-bomb and
yeah,
maybe say
yeah.
some anti-Semitic jokes, or some people would lean too much into it and actually
And
be
and
genuine
guess
anti-Semitic.
what? They don't exist anymore because people like me
Yeah,
were on them back in, in 2006. And yeah, I
and
don't
we
know.
all left because you grow up and you realize that maybe it isn't healthy to just engage with people that think the exact same thing to some
Yeah,
degree. For me, he's running it like that, and that to me is like, I remember way back in the day, you find yourself on some Angel Fire website being like, this is a Jeff Hardy website, and in this website, because I own it, everything I say about Jeff Hardy is gospel and true. And if I say Jeff Hardy hits black people, but you have to go along with it because on this website that's the rule. Okay,
yeah,
fine, just go on that website. But he's talking about social media, a platform which is essentially a way for a lot of people to communicate, and a lot of people wouldn't be able to say things that they, like outing rapists and things like that. They wouldn't be able to, and it feels like that space is now being removed,
yeah,
or it's being a little bit, taken a little bit tighter, despite the fact that it's all about free speech. It's mostly free speech towards saying things that are of a controversial hot take measure. So I don't know. I just feel like, for me, the question I put to you, if I put that to me, I think that it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better.
I
Or
think
Twitter just
he
won't exist.
I think he might
Simple as that.
make a bit of money out of it. Like, I think if you look at it on a pure business macro level, it might end up being a successful venture. For me, in terms of what it symbolizes for a society or whatever, I think
Mm.
I don't agree with the notion that Twitter is the public square. I think that that's cringe. But I think that by the time, if Elon executes every order that he has in his head right now, I think we won't be able to argue over whether or not it's the public square. I think we're going to be definitively saying that it's the public sewer. It seems like he just
Yes.
wants it to be a place like, if you describe yourself as a free speech absolutist where you believe there should be no limits on speech whatsoever, I'm really sorry, but you're just a fucking moron. Like, it's just the stupidest fucking position you can have. It just shows that you haven't spent any time in your life actually thinking about what that even means. And that seems to be what he wants. So, I don't know. Fuck him. It seems really
Sorry,
fucking
my
dumb.
vape just came up on me. Sorry, I did hear what you was
Oh,
saying.
no.
Um, yeah, that's why I was coughing. I'm sorry.
No, no, that's
No,
cool.
no, that makes perfect. Public sewer is a very good way of describing it because it's like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, you do have the main rooms where everyone's talking, and you go, oh, don't say that. That's a bit offensive. And then you got the bit under it, which he goes, come in this room, say whatever you want. Is yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
I don't know, man.
I thought he. Sorry, no, I was gonna say I thought he actually bought it because of the data aspects, as in like you can steal quite a lot of valuable data and you can funnel that into advertising, which is how you make money on the apps. But then the advertisers are kind of leaving because of what he's saying, and he's flipping back on them, and that's not usually a good road because the ad man usually wins because he'll just take his money somewhere else.
I have a conspiracy theory. Um, I genuinely believe that Tesla has been overvalued in the stock market for many, many years now. And I think its value started to slip a little bit as we head into recession. And I think Elon bought Twitter. I think whatever he used as his collateral in the deal, I don't know what it is. I don't think he paid for it in liquid cash,
No.
because that would be ludicrous. But I think he's using Tesla as some sort of collateral, and I think he bought Twitter to prop up Tesla, to keep
Mm.
its inflated price. And I also think that he's running Twitter like the kind of Trump figure, so that he can signal to the right wingers to buy his cars. It's genuinely what I think. It's a
Yeah.
conspiracy
It's like a
theory.
means to an end, isn't it? It's like
Yeah,
a
yeah,
means to get his SpaceX and Tesla to remain far more sustainable
yeah.
through the
And
face of being the
I,
face of Facebook.
I,
Twitter.
Twitter, and I truly believe that. Like, I don't have any, I could never prove it. It's just a belief. But if you
Mm.
disagree with me and like wanna like inform me about it or have a discussion about it, like fucking my DMs are always open. The comment section is there. Like fucking firehead. I don't care. I'm totally open to talk about shit like that. So yeah. Um,
Yes. Don't message me though, because I'm not. But
yeah,
he is.
Miguel Miguel is gonna reply saying, "What, that racist diamond mine boy? Get the fuck out of
Yeah,
here."
Musk boy with his musk smell and his musky fucking emeralds. Is
Yeah,
that it? Is that it, bro? Um, yeah, no. So we'll see with that dumpster fire, whether it is a big
yeah.
dumpster fire or just a reasonably sized one. So I want to talk about something else that happened in 2022, which was the ever-growing sort of musical chairs with the premiership in this country, alongside the death of our beloved brackets, not so beloved Queen.
Ah,
Want to get into
Lizzie.
that now?
Sure. I don't have a whole lot to say on the subject because I'm not a sycophant who lives under a monarchy. But I don't. I think celebrating the death of the Queen is kind of weird, and I say that as someone who's been a guy who's walked around all my life saying "fuck the Queen" at any given opportunity to any Englishman that I would speak to. But I think,
I can
like,
attest to
yes, Miguel has been there, but
this.
I
I've
just
witnessed it.
I think celebrating the death of anyone is kind of fucked up. And I also think that the Queen is purely like a symbol and a very placid one at that. And I think of the great atrocities that people are reaching to try and accuse her of being responsible for. Uh, I don't know,
It's the
dude.
classic thing. Either she's a sweet old lady who essentially is just the face of the
Yeah, or
problematic
she's a
crime,
warmonger.
or she is actually, yes, she's actually the devil herself, and she has pretty
Yeah.
fucked up views. The passing of the Queen didn't particularly affect me because I feel like I arrive. It's like when you arrive at a TV show on season 5. You know,
Yeah.
everything's already kind of been set, so you're just working with what you've got. So the Queen has never been particularly a figure of importance for me.
Same.
I don't. I didn't start um, understanding why so many people hated her in Scotland, certainly in Ireland, and even other obviously all over the world because of the empire. Up until probably around the time that I got talking to you, and I kind of decided to take it upon myself to learn a little bit more about Irish history and why it is that the Irish are so um, that said of being against particular values and ideologies that come from Britain.
Yeah.
Um, so I did learn a lot, and I did understand that she essentially picked and chose who got things and who didn't. But the shocking thing, I suppose, about her passing was how suppressed it felt. Like you could not be negative. It felt like you could not criticize the machine at which she was a part of, or the face of that. And I think that was the weird thing about the country. It felt really bizarre because I remember, speaking to people and engaging with people, and they'd be like, "Oh, she's just a sweet old lady," and you're like, "No, she's
Yeah.
fucking not." I mean, no, she isn't. She might seem like that, and she is an old lady. I'm not saying she's an old lady, but
Yeah.
it's a little bit like how many, how much people hate Margaret Thatcher and sort of figures like that. It's not so much necessarily just them, but they are perpetuating this machine, which is literally built on, if you come out of a certain vagina, you are more powerful than people who haven't come out of that vagina. And we're so, as a society, you think we're so past that, to when she passes away, to be immediately dragged back in and see a 70-year-old man who has never done anything for himself in his whole life be given this position of power and be thrust into this position of essentially of leadership, of ruling over us peasants here as a society. That in itself is so fucked up that it doesn't matter if it was Harry or Meghan in the crown. It wouldn't matter if it was the cool one that you like. It wouldn't matter if it was Prince Andrew, because at its core, the royalist movement is a movement of elitism that straight away puts people in boxes. You're royal, you're a queen. And by the way, it isn't just the main royals that you see every day. There's a whole legion of other royals that get incredible benefits and incredible lifestyles simply
Dude,
based on being
like
the third cousin from the queen, right?
dude, I think I genuinely like am an outsider to UK culture. Like I know, right? Like a lot of people in the UK think Ireland and the UK basically the same thing. It really, like, the cultural difference is so understated, I think. Like we do like a lot of the same things, but then there's this other, like, just they're just two separate worlds that we live in. But anyway, so I work in finance, and I deal with hedge funds and different types of funds, but hedge funds is the one that everyone knows, so I'll just say that. And I have onboarded clients on behalf of the royals before, and
Mm,
I have been fucking shocked where, like, I'll get an investment offer for like a few million,
mm.
whatever, and it's from someone who has a name like Lord, and I can't GDPR and stuff. I can't actually say, but like I'll get a
Lord Steve Austin,
yeah, Lord, yeah,
is
Lord Steve Austin, right? And I'll
his lordship
fucking
William Regal.
I'll Google the person, right? And I'll have never heard of this name in my entire fucking life, but I'll Google it, and they have like a Wikipedia page with like fucking 50,000 words, you know what I mean? And like photos of their fucking royal, what's it called? Quarters, like all this kind of shit, and it's just wild. But I think that this would be fun. I think I have we've drank several beers as the podcast has gone on, and I'm worried that I've been too negative about a year, which I said was pretty good. So I am actually going to take on the role of defending the Queen here for a second. And
Brilliant.
I'm going to say, right, here is a super cool thing about Queen Elizabeth II. I will not say Her Majesty because I'm not a fucking weird cunt, but
I ain't a peasant.
she so Princess Diana back in the 90s, she was on, like, she was either on antidepressants or she was going to therapy or whatever, I don't know. But Anne Robinson was like I think I've told this story before on the
Anne
podcast.
Robinson,
Anne
the one from The
Robinson, the
Weakest Link.
weakest link, yeah. Now,
Okay.
say what you like about Anne Robinson, but she's a cunt. So, I never liked her. But so she was the editor of one of the rags. I'll say the Daily Mail. If it isn't the Daily Mail, don't fact check me. just accept that I mean the Daily Mail as a metaphor for whatever other bullshit fucking red name newspaper rag, okay? And they wrote a story about Princess Diana exposing her for having gone to therapy, as if this was like a
Oh,
sign of weakness or whatever. And the Queen Elizabeth II, who has very little say in the way that things run, whatever, but ultimately has the power to do a lot of things. Uh, the
that's right.
the Queen made Anne Robinson resign from her position as editor of that paper.
So she used her influence to get it
She
to
used their influence
fuck
to be
off.
like, listen here, you cunt. And I think that that's fucking badass, and I think that that's awesome, and I think fair play. And philosophically, is there a way I could see someone using that power for bad? Yeah, but shut the fuck up. That's no fun to talk about. Okay, I want to say one nice thing about an old lady who
And
died.
also, that's
Even
very documented, isn't it?
yeah, exactly.
Much out there.
And so, one other thing about her that's cool, she came to Ireland to visit in, like, I want to say maybe 2011. I'm not sure. Maybe 2010. I don't know. But when she got here, she went to Glasnevin Cemetery. She dressed in green and she fucking spoke Irish. She also met with, like, Martin McGuinness and a couple of other, like, very, let's just say, IRA heavy heads. So I really do think that England still has a ways to go when dealing with their past with Ireland. Like I have a lot of English friends and stuff, and they really are oblivious to, like, a lot of, they don't understand where our kind of hurt comes from and our sort of sense of, like, um I don't want to say like we all think that we're victims, because the Irish people in general have a fairly positive outlook and a good psyche and things like that. But it does really bother us when the English will make jokes about the famine, and like, not be educated about the ways in which
Yeah.
that event was used as an, like, all of that kind of thing. But I think it's
It might seem that
significant.
it might seem that we are quite far removed, but essentially we are talking of what would be, as far as our generation, so 90s. That's your grandparents, or that's your great
Great,
grandparents.
yeah,
That's
great, yeah.
not
Like my fucking lineage, you would want to. I'm not gonna get into it now, but there's some serious
you got to do the
stories.
23andMe episode at some point to
Yeah,
track the lineage
exactly.
here. You know.
But no, there are some stories about, like, revolutionaries and stuff like that. But anyway,
Hmm.
like, people don't understand, like, the English government only apologized for their actions during the famine in the fucking early 90s. Like, in my life, I was alive when the English government apologized for the
Yeah,
famine. That's fucking wild.
for their actions. Yeah.
Anyway, all of that
Yeah.
aside, fair play to the Queen for doing
So
that. That was good. Rest in peace. I'm not gonna say anything bad about a fucking old dead
I
lady. That's
think
weird.
I think it's safe to say she's probably the least, on face value here. But
Yes, the
God knows what she's
least
been behind the scenes. The
harmful,
least
like,
sinister. Yeah,
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 agreed. Yeah.
yeah. Because obviously the Prince Andrew stuff leaves nobody on a good page. But then on the
Very
flip
true.
side is you cannot. It's not down to her to control where her son. Is there a son? Is it her?
I don't
Whatever the
know,
fuck it
dude.
is.
But also,
It's her
like,
son. I think it's one of her sons.
how much agency are you going to ascribe to a 90-something-year-old woman who
Exactly.
has, like, not even had to fucking, like, when she drinks a pint of Guinness, she doesn't even wipe the head off her top lip, like, for, like, do you know what I mean? Like, this is someone who,
Yeah.
it's just so, I don't know. It's whatever. I don't know.
And of course, if you are in those places, they're archaic views. If you're Meghan, if you're Harry, you are going to be seeing things in a completely different context because they've lived
Yeah,
a
for
different life.
sure.
So
Yeah, don't get me
their point of
wrong.
view is also worth mentioning. And
I don't even know
obviously
what
the
it
whole.
is. I can't even imagine what it
Oh,
would be like to have read up on
I
that.
think for them it was just hearing nasty comments or things that seemed so out of place that you're going fuck this, and they just left. And Piers Morgan seems to care about it, but most of us don't give a shit. Um, so yeah, like I think that a monarch dying is going to be a massive deal. I think where I'm coming from is so much the fact that you couldn't criticize the things that her institution stood for and what
Mhm.
she did to Ireland and India and parts of that side of the world where they inexplicably start speaking English, and you're like, why do you speak English? Oh, because in the in the Caribbean in the 50s and 60s or 40s, there's all this shit. Oh, okay. There's
Yeah.
more so much what she stood alongside of as opposed to what her actions as an individual um, stand for. And just alongside that, the fact that we've had Boris Johnson, Liz Truss, and Rishi Sunak as prime ministers, and you could have Theresa May and David Cameron since 2016 is a pretty bad sign for this country. I think that, oh, this is negative, sorry. But I think that
Dude, I
um,
think it's great. Let England shake.
the summer and
I'm
going into
joking, by the way.
the autumn, I hope it fucking
For my
this
English
all burns
listeners,
to the ground.
I was joking. That was a football reference. Okay,
Um,
yeah, that's fine.
yeah, like it was quite an embarrassment as obviously seeing what playing out. But then on the flip side, it doesn't affect me personally because I don't give a shit about which next faceless fucking drone is going to be in power because the ones I want to be in power, that's a whole different story. But the fact that we had three prime ministers in such a short period of time really puts the nails in the coffin that Brexit was a good thing because I think it always comes back to Brexit. It always comes back to trying to appeal to the sort of darkest sections of society, which is divide and conquer. It's the foreigners, it's people coming over here. But I think that the way that things have gone, the way we've gone through the motions about people resigning, people coming back in, it is frightening how many people still defend the Conservative Party because if it was anybody else, and the fact they've been in power for 12 years really speaks to just how insidiously bad these people are at their jobs. And really, it's because they always have to perpetuate the lie that Brexit is a good thing, that isolationism works. And we have only just started seeing the repercussions of it. And I think, much like Twitter, it's only going to get worse before it gets better. Not on a personal basis,
Yep.
not on your life. Your life will be the same. You'll still you probably have less money because of the bills, but that's kind of a worldwide issue. But um, I just think that Boris Johnson was unfit and corrupt to be in the seating position. I know it probably doesn't give you a lot of space to disagree unless you want to play devil's advocate.
Let
For Liz Truss,
me
go
do
for
a
it.
let me do a really because I have had criticisms that my podcast is like an echo chamber or whatever. So I'll take the hit for that. I'll shoot myself in the head.
Good man.
Honestly, it seems to me Brexit was an
It seems to
absolutely
me.
that all you see. Um,
What's
uh,
inside of me?
if
Yes.
I genuinely believe that the Labour Party would have won the general election had Corbyn had just taken a fucking stance on Brexit. Like I think if you were to I don't really know like Jeremy Corbyn. I don't know UK politics. I don't fuck with it. I don't care about it. The only reason why I'm so vocally against Brexit is because the way that it affects the country that I live in. And I find it to be like the most fucking heinous act and the like essentially some kind
What's
of
the biggest act of self-harm you could ever do?
it's not
Because, for
even that.
example,
It's the way that it affects Ireland and the way that no one in the union gives a fuck about it. And I find it so
they don't
fucking
care.
like I find it disgusting that these people will do everything to fucking cling on to the 6 counties in the north of my country, but not give a fuck when they do things to jeopardize the safety of those counties. Like they just don't fucking care. It's just politics to
Yeah.
them. The million
Because
plus people that live
they were
up
having
there,
stuff.
yeah, means fucking
It don't
nothing to
matter.
them. They stand for fucking
They were
nothing. It's just
they were having facts pointed out about Ireland and about the Good Friday Agreement and about
the
the
fucking
protocols.
Dominic Raab,
Look
the
at them.
fucking foreign
Yes.
secretary of the fucking United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, hadn't even read the fucking Good Friday Agreement, right? I was 9 years old when that shit got fucking ratified, and I had to read it for homework. Like, I've fucking
Yeah.
read the Good Friday Agreement. Like, this, it is unforgivable and it is inexcusable. And I just cannot believe the fucking arrogance of cunts like him and Johnson and everyone in that. Anyway, sorry. So let's go back. Let's rewind.
That's it. That's
That's me.
exactly
You're
it.
probably wondering how I got here. So,
I hate England. That's how I got here. But
Corbyn,
no.
but if
I'm
Corbyn
in
just took a
agreement.
position, but Corbyn, like, every single fucking time he was asked about the EU, like he just didn't have the fucking balls to be like, oh well, I don't personally think that the EU is great, but blah 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 blah, and say all of the
Yes.
things to get people to vote. But he wouldn't fucking do it, and I think that that's so fucking weaselly and squirmy
I
and
think that
fucking.
he got advised. I think he got advised not to say anything that's going to be too reactionary because you're afraid of losing what would arguably be those 52% of voters who voted
But
for Brexit,
instead, he
right?
went out with a whimper and lost to a
Yes,
fucking party that made Boris Johnson its fucking head. And I just think that that is also
exactly.
unforgivable. And like again, right? To all the, I know that I have a lot of people who really fuck with Corbyn, right? I don't know the guy. I don't know his policies about anything. I know where he is principally. I know his like ideological positions. I'm
He
kind of
seems to be a decent man. I think it's safe to
sure
say that in a politics world where everybody's up for the highest bidder, it feels like that was the one guy who you're like, well, he probably wouldn't do arms deals with Saudi Arabia. He probably wouldn't, um, you know, try and nuclearly destroy another country because they asked him, oh, would you, if somebody dropped an atomic bomb on us, would you drop it on somebody else? And he's sort of like, well,
he wouldn't
you know
appear on
what?
stage with Hamas. Whoops.
Yeah,
Never
and
mind.
and you go and you and you go, well, by the time we get to the bit where somebody drops a nuclear bomb, so many things would have had to go wrong, and so many channels of dialect have gone wrong that by the time you get to a nuclear bomb going off, then all bets are off. And I was like, that's what he's trying to say, but it came across like he was going, if somebody bombed us with a nuclear bomb, your Russias and your Irans or whatever the fuck is WMDs these days, that he wouldn't do anything about it. And that really got misconstrued because I think he was sort of going, if you deal with everybody diplomatically, then usually it doesn't come down to war. It only comes down
Mm,
to war when all other channels have been by the way, I'm not talking about current conflicts. I'm not saying that that's every conflict is
mhm.
because other people didn't dialogue. But what I mean is in the Western world, that by the time you get to a conflict, that usually all diplomatic ties and means have been exhausted. But you're right. He handed the crown over to like the worst people, and I think that
Yep. Literally did.
as
Yep.
a nation, we also place too much trust in our politicians. I think Adam Curtis makes a very good point in his documentaries. If people are listening who don't know who Adam Curtis is, by all means have a look at hypernormalization to kind of give you a good glimpse of what the man's all about. But he made the point to say that in the Western world, politicians are mere reactionary puppet masters. So they give you something to be frustrated at because things are bad. You blame Boris Johnson, but in reality, Boris Johnson doesn't have any real power because all the power is actually in the city of London for the banks, for the big corporations, and they advise what these politicians should do. And that's exactly what happened with Liz Truss. She met with American hedge fund managers who said that the way to uplift the market was to be what she did, which to increase borrowing and subsidize government debt by getting corporations to buy that debt. But what that means is those corporations then have a hand in the pocket of the government, which then means that any decisions that the politicians make are going to be in the interests of the few, not the many. But having said all of that, I feel like I'm not that intelligent and I understand these things and I search for these things. And it doesn't take that long to get an answer as to why things aren't getting any better. But it's really frightening how, like, most of society think it's a popularity contest. You know what I mean?
Mm.
You know,
I
oh, what
think
about Keir Starmer? He's shit, but at least Liz Truss at least stands for Brexit. And you're like, you
that's
don't want to know who's behind her, who advises her, who got her to be in that position? No? Okay. And the weird thing is, she's local to me. She's the MP for Norwich North.
it's,
Uh,
it's the
around
funniest
the
thing
corner
ever
from
to
here.
me that you live in Norwich, and I don't know why. It's just so fucking random. Like it just makes no fucking sense. Like I don't know.
So, so in a way, we had one of our own up in the White House at number
Yeah.
10.
Number 10
She's
White
one
House
of our
Street.
own. Yeah, up in 10 Willie Street, and yeah, no, I just think that she was a empty vessel who stood for nothing and meant even less. So I'm glad to see the back of her. But then you get, it's just another person on that machine. So Rishi Sunak is richer than Prince Charles. He's part American. He's his entire life has been funded and fed by hedge fund managers, which means he has nothing in common with a common person. So it kind of puts a bleak light. I'm really trying to be positive, but I think the only way things are going to change is
My
when the
wages are
revolution
funded by
happens.
hedge managers. Just FYI.
Yeah, but you're not a politician.
Well,
So when you spend, well, I am. Well, when you spend your money and when you make decisions, you're not thinking this would please the hedge fund managers. At work, yes, you are supposed to be doing a task, and that's the job. But when you buy your beer or your shoes or a game, you don't go, "This is for my corporate masters because without them, I wouldn't be where I am." Right? No. So yeah.
well,
Well, this man plays AOE for the big corpos.
oh, I wish.
That's
Hey,
why,
if
that's
any
why you
big,
went to the tournaments.
if any corporations want to sponsor me, I'm fucking really good. I'm like the fourth best AoE 2 player in Ireland. All right, fucking
Exactly.
hook me up. My
And
DMs are open.
with the corporation's money, we can kill the other three. So,
Exactly. I would just like to say for the record, I am for sale, and my price is not that high. So if anyone out there, anyway, I don't know why I said that.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
He's available for purchase. However, I cost a lot of money to get me on your side, so I will not be promoting any NFTs anytime soon. What else should we talk about 2022? Hey, tell you what, let's take a little. Let's talk about maybe things that you've enjoyed, not necessarily that came out this year, music wise, or games wise, or pornography wise, or
Yeah,
the
I
TV
got.
show.
Let's.
Um,
I just
What's the
will.
support video of 2022?
I don't think I want to say because I would get myself in all sorts of. Anyway, I'll just say. Yeah.
Chick.
For the listeners, we actually had a list of like 12 things we were going to talk about, and I'm sorry, we're not gonna get there. Okay, this podcast is gonna yeah. We may be back. There was a lot of we wanted to talk about Kanye, a little bit about Andrew Tate. We wanted to talk about the war in Ukraine. We wanted to talk about like many other things. Vincent Kennedy McMahon leaving WWE, but we've spent a lot of time drinking beer and talking shit. So those topics are not gonna be back ended in this episode.
They just wouldn't be covered as thoughtfully as
exactly
the previous one.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. We had to give it our all. We're mentally spent from. Okay, so I'm gonna just quickly run through some bookends in pop culture that I really dug this year. So again, there's not much like specifically from 2022. Okay, but I do want to say. Album of the year for me is an album called Skinty Fia by a band called Fontaines DC. I've raved about them on my podcast many times. They're like an Irish post-punk act. They have done 3 albums in 4 years.
Is their name Irish or something? Does that
no,
mean something?
so the Godfather is Johnny Fontaine. That's the singer's name in The Godfather, the guy who's based on Sinatra.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that's what they're based on. But there was a band called The Fontaines, so they changed their name to Fontaines DC, which just means the Fontaines of Dublin City. They're
not the District of Columbia.
No, nothing to do with Columbia or the comics. But they're an Irish band, like true and true. Their singer like kind of sings in a Dublin accent. Their first album is all about Dublin. Their third album is all about being Irish living in England. Their second album is kind of about a lot of things. You would actually really dig their sound, but I know that it's really hard to like. I think that I recommend you different music all the fucking time, and you must be exhausted by me being like, check out this, and then check out this, and then this and this. So we'll get there.
I get to it. You know me. I usually get to it. It usually takes me about 3 years to get to it.
Well, you got the Deftones a lot quicker than I thought. To be fair, that was good.
Yes.
Good. But
No, it's actually, you know what? I will jot that as a highlight of 2021, being rediscovering Deftones, because obviously I knew Deftones.
oh
You
yeah,
know,
we're new
everybody
metal
who's
kids. Yeah.
yeah, if you're a part of a certain genre and movement, then you're gonna know about like about 10 bands. But you did kind of drop in their current stuff as if to say, hey, they're not just yesterday's
Yeah.
band. And I have to say, most of their stuff, if not all of their recent stuff, is really good,
Yeah. Yeah.
really
Yeah.
good,
Awesome
really
band.
really good. But that's 2021.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, if anyone hasn't checked out Fontaines or bought into the hype, I would say check Skinty Fia. It's a fantastic album, true and true. I went to see them live in the Ivy Gardens in Dublin. It was one of the best gigs that I've ever been to. So shout out to them. Also want to say, and this is another album that you really fuck with. Dawn FM by The Weeknd. I fucking really, really loved this album.
The
It's got like
weekend, the
it's
weekend.
it's got a strong retro wave tinge to oh dude, let me tell you the story of the album actually, because I know that you're gonna fucking love this.
Sure.
um so it's like moderately vaporwave slash retro wave. It's very like 80s
Mhm.
early 90s kind of vibe. So
With
the
the washed out, kind of the
Yes,
grainy musical
ethereal.
elements.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And so this album, it's called Dawn FM, and the concept of it is you are in traffic in a tunnel in the 1980s, and you're listening to a radio station that is being channeled from purgatory between heaven and hell, and the tunnel is kind of a symbol for purgatory. And
Okay.
the DJ is Jim Carrey. It's his voice.
The one and only James Carey. No way.
James Carrey.
Right. I need to establish, me and one of my friends, we have a long running joke ever since James Rodriguez, infamously of Colombia,
Yes.
and at the time Real Madrid fame, specifically was going, it's not James, it's James. So I find it really difficult when I see James, to not go James
Dude, you have
or
no idea, right?
him.
You know the way I'm the greatest career mode YouTuber of all time, the greatest FIFA career mode YouTuber of all time, which I fucking
So I
am.
hear.
Yeah, no, I will literally
Yeah, yeah,
fight
yeah,
anyone who
yeah.
thinks otherwise. But I used to have this career mode where I was managing Monaco, and I had Rodriguez in my team, and I was calling him James Rodriguez, and everyone in the comment section was like, "His name is James. Why are you saying James?" Nah. And then it turns out that it is James, and the whole fucking world knows that I was right. And that's just one
Yeah.
of many areas where I was proven right by time in my career mode series and got a lot of shit for things that 2 years after the fact turned out to be pretty true. So fucking eat my
How
dick.
did you how did you get how did you get on? This is positive stuff here. How did you get on with my name then? Would people go, it's Miguel? It's Miguel. Why are you
I
saying him Miguel?
I
You
just
fucking
reply and
idiot.
say I call him Manuel. I don't know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
so you fucking I got a photo of something that I ordered a fucking Starbucks the other day. They typed Miguel,
For fuck's
Migrel.
sake.
That's not even a name. That doesn't even exist. If you put Mikael, I'd be annoyed, but you know, it is what it is. But yeah, so anyways, yeah, so James Carey does the he's like the MC.
Man, I'm telling you, you gotta check out Dawn FM. You would fucking love it. It's actually so you. Like it really, really is. It's the combination of like retro wave and hip hop and like 80s and sort of Miami, like LA sort of sound. Like I don't know. It's just
Yeah.
it's so you. You'd really like it. So that was
I
a
did write
huge
down I did write down that name, so it's on the list.
nice, nice, nice.
Check it
Like
twice.
oh yeah, can I say something else? 2022 was the year that I got involved in collecting vinyl, and I fucking hate my life. Worst fucking financial decision a cunt can make. So yeah,
There
I've
you
got like
go.
5 grand worth of vinyl in my room behind me, and Dawn FM is one of the ones that I own. I own 2 copies of Skinty Fia, the other album I referenced. So yeah, everything is good. I hate my life, and it's been a great year. So I think for like albums of
Who
2022,
pays for music? Hang on, who paid for that shit?
man, I
Just
gotta,
get it
you
from a
gotta,
man.
you gotta. I want to live in a world where musicians get paid for their product. So the best way I can make that happen is by paying for the product. Am I right?
by buying an obsolete bit of technology,
Fuck
yeah,
you. I'll
from
fight you if I have to.
25 years ago, and going, yeah, mate,
I'll
that phase
fly
is
over there
fantastic.
on a blimp and beat the shit out of you, and I'll show you
Um,
obsolete technology.
I'll DCU into hell. But no, yeah, that's cool. No,
That's
I
so
mean,
condescending.
the problem is I don't know,
That's cool, but here's
music.
something
I don't,
actually good.
I don't, here's an idea. Have you ever tried not paying for it, not giving the artist what they deserve for their hard work?
I
Because
guess I could give it a
times are
go.
tough. You know, no, no, no. Although I will say, I constantly get buy Spotify subscription and immediately get rid of it as soon as I read a thing where it goes, this artist got paid point of a cent
I
for
know.
their music. And I'm like, oh, you know what? I'll stick to YouTube, which they also don't get any money for. Fuck that. And I'll get it back because I'm like, well, these albums are really hard to listen to find and on torrents and YouTube. So I'll go back to Spotify. But yeah, no, that's fair enough. At least you're into something, musically, so you can go, hey, and also it impresses people to go check out my Vine collection, dog. Look
Dude,
at this.
I wish that were true. I wish it impressed people. It doesn't. No one gives a fuck about
No,
your record collection. No, it's
because
really
I'll
a
just open
thing
up my
for like,
iTunes and be like,
it's
hey, girls, hey, ladies, have you seen my iTunes?
dude. I feel
Did you
like
know
it's
I've got the
a
Japanese release of the Arctic Monkeys album, which includes 7 or 8 songs I've heard? No, okay, it's fine, fine. Fucking idiots.
it's a symptom of a sick society when I'm like, oh yeah, show me your Discogs page. It's just fucking
Get
I don't know, man.
your Discogs out for the lads. Um, oh god.
uh,
But yeah, so that's cool. What else? What else has been going down your ear holes for
uh,
this year?
well, Miggy, it's interesting that you the
Well, let me tell you.
new Pusha T album was pretty good. The new Beach House album was sick. The new Earl Sweatshirt album was called Sick. I guess it was fine. I'm not depressed enough to have to listen to him anymore, so I
That
don't know.
wasn't sick.
Beyonce album was sick. The 1975 new album was good. Taylor Swift Midnights, huge shout out to that one. Also, I
People
want
keep
to,
talking to me about the 1975 a lot because
yeah,
this cunt's interviews keep coming up on my timeline a lot.
yeah, dude
Um,
is
I've never heard
high
of the
level.
1975.
You
I
want
don't even know
to?
why you call that year. Why?
Mm, they used to be called something else. They used to be like a middle of the road emo band, and then they,
The 1974 was it? And they're like,
yeah, I
ooh.
think that's what it was. Yeah,
Don't know about that. It's the wrong year, dog. You gotta be making 75. Yeah, but I hear they make quite good sort of dark pop, I think I'd call it. Sort of
they're a
French
band
pop.
who are like they're so sincere that I find it really hard to hate them. Um, I think
I thought you were gonna be like, it's just doesn't see. I find it hard to listen to them because it makes me uncomfortable. That's how I
honestly
felt.
though, that is like a little piece of it. Like they are actually so
Yeah,
sincere
yeah,
that
yeah.
sometimes it's a little bit sickly or something. Like, but I
But
respect
stop making
them.
me feel sincere, you idiot. What's wrong with you?
They did an album called A Brief Inquiry into Online Relationships, and it was such a fucking good album. It was like an album that was like a reflection of the last 5 years of a crumbling society, and they just did such a good job of expressing all of this kind of this really modern type of anxiety. And
Hmm.
so it was great. And then they had a follow up album called I can't even remember what the fuck it was called. What the fuck was it? Notes on a Conditional Form. It was called. That album like really sucked. But then they have a new one this year called Being Funny in a Foreign Language, and it's pretty good. It's a lot more in line with the Brief Inquiry album. So yeah, they got something good going on for them. Worst album of the year was honestly Nevermind by Drake. It was a huge piece of shit. That dude has fallen off
What
so
about
hard.
Donda? Donda 2. Did you get around to that as well?
I think that was 2021, was it?
No, Donda 2 is 20. Don't fuck with me.
I might be wrong.
Don't. February 2022 that came out.
Okay, okay.
Donda 2.
No, didn't listen to it at all. I think we would have to do a
I
whole other episode about Kanye.
yeah, yeah, especially these days. But I tried to listen to it, but this is not a comment necessarily on Kanye because he's got enough ammunition to go after him for
Yeah.
because he's a fucking
He's a Nazi. Yeah.
unbelievably unhinged human being.
Yeah.
But I don't really like, and this is not just about him. This kind of happens with the crop of current, as far as hip hop, trap, and rap, or whatever we want to chuck into those genres. Is the whole like 75% of the album is other people. Like every single song has got 4 features, and I'm like, I didn't buy
Yeah.
the album to listen to them. I bought the album to listen to you. And when you just keep going, here's this rapper you've never heard of, and occasionally you might be like, oh, that's really good. Because for example, way back in the day, the Notorious B.I.G. Life After Death, his first album, he's got Method Man in a couple of songs, and it's one of them called The What. But I already knew about Method Man from Wu Tang, but B, it's like 2 songs that he has features. Every single other song, it's Biggie giving you Biggie. And I'm not saying everybody's got to be Biggie. That's completely not the point that I'm
That's
making.
exactly
I
what you're
really
saying.
find it, yeah, well, more or less. I'm trying to like distill it. But I do find that um the whole featuring. I mean, I'm looking at Donda 2 here, and there's 14 songs, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 14 songs in which there are features, because there's a section on Wikipedia that says uncredited features. So
I
when
will I will
Jack
only
Harlow and Travis Scott and Future, and I'm like, why do you not just have that album exist? But why do you need all these other people constantly in every song? Are you saying you can't work on your own, or are you saying that you're a very good producer that you open it up to feature other people to get them some clout?
there's
You
this
know?
rapper called The Game, and he's like a large
Yeah.
source
He
of
currently
ridicule.
owns he currently owns WWE, that guy. So you gotta be
That's
careful
right,
with what you're
yeah.
saying.
Time to play
Look
the
at what's your
game.
tone. Yeah.
But
Um,
The Game
go on.
is he's a guy who exists in hip hop as a punching bag that everyone makes fun of. I, however, am
Is
a
that because of how many people he features?
yes. It's because he's a
Hmm.
joke of an artist, and like he just like takes like so he'll get like a feature, like let's say he gets like Future. So like
Sure.
Future appears on his track, and then so the Game's verse will just be a Future verse, but it's the Game. Like he just takes other people's
Yeah.
flow. Like he doesn't have any kind of sense of originality. However, he is literally one of my favorite rappers ever. I fucking love him. So like I can't I'm sorry, like I can't hang Kanye on this noose because I love the Game
On the
so
feature
much.
thing.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
can't. Like I can't. It would be such a hypocritical move of me to do it when I will actually defend the Game against most criticism. So yeah,
Well,
gotta.
that's fine. That's your opinion. I just don't.
A man has to have his principles, Miguel. You
He
know.
does. He does. What is a man or woman or person without their principles? I'll tell you what they are. They're Liz Truss. And
They
you
are.
never want to go full Liz Truss.
No, that's
Um,
true.
I I just don't think that the hip hop I grew listening to, the rap music I grew up listening to. Whereas, like, yes, you can feature people. There's nothing wrong with having collaborative. I mean, Nine Inch Nails is Trent Reznor and musicians. As
Mm-hmm.
much as we think of that as a group, it's not a group.
No, it's
And
Trent.
remember, it's been Trent from the first album, from Pre Hate Machine. It was just Trent doing everything. So again, everything that comes after that, you kind of go, well, yeah, it's Dave Grohl on the drums live, but really, he's just playing what presumably was already there. But yeah, no, that's always the problem I've had with hip hop. It's not necessarily a new thing. It's not necessarily aimed at Kanye West. Ye, I believe his name is these days. But yeah,
Yeah.
there's a whole lot of. But you didn't listen to Donda, is my original question.
I didn't listen to Donda 2 because you had to fucking purchase some $250 piece of shit. To be honest with you, I'm really over Kanye, and as we've discussed before, I didn't
Even before the events, yeah.
I didn't even listen to him at all in 2022. I thought that Donda was the first record was just such a fucking bloated piece of shit made by a guy who has just gone too. Look, I can say a lot of
Here we
bad
go.
things about Kanye, but he's
Yeah.
also mentally ill, and I'm kind of torn between the two things. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, you can let his statements speak for them fucking selves. Anyways, it's not like we need Nazis bad, very bad. By the way, it.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
gonna take
So
the brave
we're,
stance of saying
we're
that
just
I
looking
don't
at it
like
here.
Nets.
Mute. Yeah, we're looking. Yeah, whoa. Standing outside the fence there, but we're just talking about it musically.
Yeah,
I
okay,
never
no,
dug.
I had no faith that the record would be any good because it was pretty clear that he was having some kind of manic episode during the rollout of Donda itself, and I think Donda Two
Yeah.
was essentially like the zenith of that episode. So yeah,
Hmm.
I would say Donda Two
Let
sucks,
me.
even though I never listened to it.
Yeah, yeah. It presumably is gonna be shite. So
Yeah.
for me, musically, I have not. I'm looking here at my top plays of the year, and my most played song is a song called "Motown Philly" by Boys to Men.
Right.
If that doesn't contextualize you to what year I live in,
I will never like
Boys
understand
to
you.
Men.
Uh, I'm gonna.
I'll give you the top five here. Boys to Men, Tupac, James Brown, Belle Biv DeVoe, Queens of the Stone Age, and A Flock of Seagulls and Gorillas. That's more than five, but yeah, this is the top, probably the most music I've listened to this year. I will have to say though, this year I got into Joy Division, which
Fuck
is.
yes.
Do you know what the upside is about neglecting good music for a long time?
You get
Is
to
that
experience
when
it for the first time.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, I think Love Will Tear Us Apart again, which is probably their leading, most infamous song of She's Lost Control, probably there as well, and Warsaw. But I think Love Will Tear Us Apart again is probably the most accurately beautiful love song I have ever heard lyrically and musically. It's like the kind of song that fits both a breakup and a new relationship, if that makes sense. Because you can get the giddy feelings and you can get the sort of post mortem of a relationship feeling. Um, so I didn't know too much about Ian Curtis. I know that you and I had conversations in which you said Joy Division were good, and I explicitly said no, they're not.
Yeah.
I'm putting it mildly here, right? I'm
I
putting it
just
very
yeah.
mildly.
15 years ago, Miguel said something to me that I have never forgotten, never gotten over, but he's rectifying it in the year of our Lord 2022, and that's fine.
Slowly.
I just want to say, by the way, you will get so much hate for saying "Love Will Tear Us Apart" is the best Joy Division song, because if you ever want to see a person squirm, ask a Joy Division fan what their favorite Joy Division song is, and they will say every song other than "Love Will Tear Us Apart," because
Other than the
you're
singles,
yeah, you're
right?
not allowed
Yeah,
to say
yeah,
that.
yeah,
You have
yeah,
to be
yeah,
like, oh, a ceremony,
yeah,
even though it was never recorded. The whole like,
yeah,
fuck you, man. Just
yeah.
fucking
Or
admit it that it's an unbelievable song. Like,
yeah, yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, maybe I should clarify by going. My favorite is
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
one.
No, I don't worry.
Um,
It's
rather than being like, hey, have you heard Transmission? Have you heard the
yeah.
B side from Transmission? Have you heard
Actually,
Glass, the 2007 remaster? No,
Trent used to do a
lad.
great cover of Atmosphere. If you ever heard
Yes,
that.
because I think I've. That's the thing about Joy Division as well, is I've heard most of their music through covers by other people that I like.
Yeah, Nine Inch Nails got a couple,
So
right? Dead Souls on the Crow soundtrack.
yeah, yeah, which is it's the same soundtrack. That album for The Crow has got Darkness by Rage Against the Machine,
Yeah,
Darkness and
yeah.
Greed,
Darkness of Greed.
which is one of
Yeah.
my Darkness of Greed. That's it. One of my favorite Rage Against the Machine songs, which is impossible to get unless you get the that soundtrack for both of those songs.
Man, you ever heard "Burn" by The Cure on that soundtrack?
Yes,
That
and by
song.
Nine Inch Nails as well. Their version of Burn. I don't
Oh
think
yeah,
it's a cover.
true.
I think it's
No, that's on Lost
a song
Highway.
called
It's a
that.
different.
Oh
But
yeah, yeah,
dude, I watched The Crow in the year 2022, and
yeah. Oh, I've watched that movie many times. I love that movie.
dude, when I was a kid, that was like my favorite fucking movie. But I watched it with my girlfriend in 2022, and I was like real excited to kind of like explain all the things that I loved about the movie. But like when I
Yeah.
was watching it, I actually became so fucking overwhelmed with emotion that I couldn't even talk for most of it. I was just like, this is literally the greatest movie ever fucking made. And that's just that. So shout out to The Crow, the movie
Shout
from
out
the
to
early 90s.
1994's The
Yeah.
Crow.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with 1996's The Crow, which is Crow 2, or 1999's The Crow 3. I've seen them all.
Yeah, I've seen them
Um,
all too. They all suck, except the first one,
and then
which
there's
is the
like a
best movie ever made.
yeah, yeah. It's unfortunately a man had to die, but that's that's the legend, isn't it?
He had to
Yeah.
die.
He had. That's the thing. He had to as well. That's what's so
Yeah,
fucked
there
up
was no
about it.
other way.
He- There's no other way. There's no other way, dog.
Man, when
Like, I'm
will Alec
sorry.
Baldwin stop? Sorry, that was too far.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I also listened to a unbelievably amazing hip hop album. I'm talking like as recent as December of 2022, by a group called Souls of Mischief, called 93 Until Infinity. Have you heard of
Okay.
this?
No, I have never heard of this.
Nor had I, but I recognize all of the people featured in this album because most of them are from Hieroglyphics. So, and that's the crew with Del the Funky Homo Sapien,
Mm-hmm.
who, if people don't know, was in the Gorillaz
Eltron.
song from Eastwood, Deltron 3030.
Yeah.
Very, very, he's Ice Cube's cousin, believe it or not.
Wow.
Um, and the album 91, 93, 91, 91 is when the year I was born. 93 Until Infinity is one of the best, most well crafted lyrically and musically hip hop albums I've heard ever. And something
Wow.
that people might not know about me is I listen to, I have absorbed a lot of hip hop, especially golden era hip hop from 93 to 99. West Coast, East Coast, blah, blah. It is an unbelievable album with really good tracks such as
I'm downloading it
"Let 'Em
right
Know"
now. I'm literally
and
downloading it.
"Anything Can Happen." The song, there's a song called "93 Until Infinity," which is the title track, is unbelievable. Um, if people haven't listened to this, do give it a listen because it is everything you want from hip hop. It's clever rhymes, braggadocio, a little bit of cockiness, but this is before the era of you just rap about your belongings. So you're talking
Yeah.
about situations killing people, not killing people, people do too. Yeah, really good album. I really got into Muse as well, actually.
No
Really good.
way. You're a
Yes.
pedophile? Holy shit, that's
I
crazy.
I remember having a conversation with a person from my job in which I said, yeah, but Muse are no one's favorite band. Come on, man. Like they're just a band. And the person went on to be like, I love Muse. I've been to several of their gigs. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, they do exist. Oh, the so-called fans, the so-called people that go to this. And he
Man,
said, listen to the album, give it a try. And I was like, okay, worst case scenario is I don't like it and I get rid of it, whatever. Really fucking strong stuff. Mind you, I did get their best of. So,
okay. Like, I mean, like, they
Yeah.
got a lot of great songs. Like, they're clearly a
Yeah.
good band. I once described them as the most technically proficient band in the world. I think I might
Yes.
stand by that. But I
Mm-hmm.
just think that they're so cringe. And I also think that Matt Bellamy has no genitalia. That's a separate issue. But I
It's
think
the
that they're.
falsetto. It's the
I
high voice.
know.
Sometimes they can catch you out and you're like,
Yeah.
I'm not in the mood, bro. Steph. But then Josh Homme from Queens of Stone has a lot of high voice, and then the falsetto high voice. And then my favorite band, but it feels like what Queens of Stone do it's not like the voice is almost behind the instruments, whereas with Muse, it's fucking right there. If you listen to Sing for Absolution, the song, not the album, he goes really high, and you're like, oh, you you don't have any body parts. You're like an action man. You just have a nub
Exactly.
where your reproductive organs should be. Don't sue me on
Yeah.
this. This is in fact. Don't quote me on this. But yeah, really got into Muse. Really, really got into. I say got into. I mean, discovered a gentleman by the name of Vinicius de Moraes. He is a Brazilian bossa nova. He's like a poet
Oh
slash
man,
musician,
you and your bossa
mostly
nova. This
60s,
shit is so fucking funny.
mostly 60s and 70s. But he's got a song called Canto de Ossanha, which is the corner of Ossanha, which is a part of Brazil, which is one of the most sampled songs of all time because of the beat and the song. And I just listened to the original. It is unbelievable. He's also got a really good song called Samba de Orly, which is fucking about love and having to go through really shit heartbreak to get to a higher place. Not exactly a new concept, but
Is that the song that
it's
goes
how people.
like ah la 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 samba?
Yeah. It's the tequila song.
I'm so sorry. I didn't. I thought about I locked that joke in, and then I thought about it for a second. Then I was like, "Is this really culturally insensitive?" And then I was like, "Well, who am I going to offend? The fucking Spanish people? I'm fucking saying it. Fuck this." Yeah. Okay.
Morata? You're gonna offend Morata or Gavi?
I understand, by the way, for everyone else who's
Yes.
like, "Oh, he said samba, he said bossa nova, it's Brazil," but like La Bamba is spoken in Spanish.
Yes.
Fuck you. Anyway, yeah. So
Yes, that's a
sorry.
Mexican song, anyways. But if you want to be culturally correct,
I know it's a
um,
Mexican song,
but
yeah,
yeah,
but they speak Spanish.
they do. Too lazy to come up with it. I'm kidding.
Fuck's
I'm kidding.
sake.
I'm kidding. Cut that. Cut that. Cut that. Cut that. Cut that. Cut that.
Okay.
I've been getting. The thing is, this year, 2022, has been a really good year for me to stop giving a shit about what's current and look the other way. So a lot of Bowie,
Mm-hmm.
Dead Kennedys, De La Soul, Black Sheep, Diggable Planets. So these are all the Fugees. These are all obviously Living Color. These are all very 90s bands. But I do want to make a little bit of time for a gentleman called Mark Farina. He is a French DJ who does, I mean, this guy's been going since the early 90s. He does an incredible mixes, hip hop, dance, trance, and a little bit of dance. Um, he does these things called mushroom jazz, which are like these compilation albums, in which you know that thing that sometimes DJs do, where like they make the whole album feel like one song because they'll
Mm.
like seamlessly go from the end of that song. You take the beat and the beat and the beat, and then it transitions into a new song. He does a lot of that. He's very talented. He's got his own, he's a very respected guy in the DJ world, but he doesn't get enough views. Mark Farina, look him up if you ever want something while you listen to while on the train that doesn't have any lyrics but kind of engages your brain. He's the one to go to. But that's all I got as far as music goes.
I want to give a shout out to Slipknot. They released a new album this year. I thought it was dope.
What was that called and what was that like?
Interesting story, Miguel. It was called The End So Far, but I ordered it on vinyl, and my
Edgy.
vinyl says The End For Now. So I have a mistitled vinyl, which in 20 years might be worth something. Might not. Who fucking knows? It's a lottery. But yeah, it was
It'd be
called
cool if he came out and said it was never called The End So Far. It
Nah,
was actually called The End.
they've been real public about it. They've yeah, it's their last album with Roadrunner, if you can believe that. That's
It says here on Wikipedia the original vinyl and cassette releases of The End So Far were misprinted as The End For Now.
yeah.
In a Reddit AMA, Corey Taylor said The End So Far was always the album's intended title, and that the misprint was caused by somebody who fucked up, didn't double check with the band.
That's the most Corey thing ever. I fucking a few years ago,
Big
right?
head on that guy. Big head.
Dude, like I really like him, but I remember when Linkin Park
Neck,
released
not a big head, a big neck. Sorry, he's
Big
got
neck,
a big neck.
true. But he does have like an ego or some like I like him though, but when Linkin Park released One More Light, it got like widespread condemnation for being like a pop record. And Chester was interviewed about it, and he was like, "Look, like if you want to listen to, if you want us to go back to like Hybrid Theory or whatever, just fucking listen to Hybrid Theory, okay? Like fuck off. Like I'm sick of answering questions about this kind of shit." And then Corey Taylor was like, "Listen here, Chester, you gotta remember where you came from. Like, don't alienate your fans and all this stuff, right?" Obviously, Chester killed himself. A lot of people think that his mental state had deteriorated because of the pushback to that album. But then, so Slipknot released the End So Far, and there's a lot more singing on it. It's kind of ballad driven a little bit. Like it's less screaming. It's less Slipknotty.
According to Wikipedia, it sounds like Bowie, Tool, and Stone Temple Pilots.
I gotta say, I fucking dig it. I love everything Slipknot have done in the last 5 years.
Do you like any of those people? I mean,
Yes.
I know you love Tool. You love Tool.
Listen, man, I talk a lot of shit about Tool. I do like them,
Tool. This fucking guy
I
Not one day goes by where he doesn't go listen to Tool or
I
something.
think if Tool didn't have the most insufferable fucking fans in the world, that I would be such a bigger fan. Also, if Maynard wasn't the fucking, but anyway,
Yeah,
when
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Corey was interviewed about the end so far, asked about the fan backlash, and he was like, "Ah, fuck all of you. If you want Wait and Bleed, go listen to Wait and Bleed." It's like, dude, but you fucking said 5 years
Done.
ago at the chest,
Yeah.
like, fuck you, man. Remember where you came from, you fucking prick. But anyways, yeah.
Oh, you just reminded me something else I've listened to in 2022. And you're right, by the way. He should have. This is the problem about criticizing musicians, criticizing other musicians for certain creative decisions, is that they
Yeah.
usually tend to fucking go and do that shit
Yep.
themselves.
Yep, dude, it's
Um,
like it always fucking happens. Always.
always, always, always. Oh, they're too poppy or they're too mainstream. They've changed
Mm-hmm.
their style. And then as you evolve creatively, you kind of realize, oh yeah, I can't just keep making the same album over and over again. For better or for worse, to evolve.
I
And
will just
normally,
I will just say this one thing
fun.
in Corey Taylor's defense. Like a lot of the reasons why he has all of these quotes and sound bites is because for some weird reason everyone asks him everything all the fucking time. Like I
He's
don't know.
consulted on
Yeah,
everything that's popular culture
exactly.
within the
I don't
rock
know.
industry.
Is the dude on
Yeah,
a constant media circuit tour or something? I don't understand. But people are always fucking
I think
like,
he's.
"Oh,
I think maybe
Corey,
he's
what's your
willing to
opinion on
talk
the
about it.
inflation and fucking the global
Yeah,
recession?" Like, he's just the singer of
and how does
Slipknot.
that
Like,
tie up to the Slipknot album? And then you
yeah,
get
do
a
you know what I
quote.
mean? Like,
Yeah,
fucking,
yeah, yeah. I'm sorry, I just wanted to add in another thing that blew me away in 2022 because it feels like so long ago was the new Limp Bizkit album,
oh man, that came
which
out
was
in
called.
2021. But yes,
But I only listened to it this year because I specifically did not listen to it in 2022.
that's
Um,
true.
what's the new Limp Bizkit album called? I forget. Is it called Big
It's
Dick Daddy or something
it's
like
called Still
that?
Sucks, and
Still sucks. You can say it
dude,
in his voice, which is my favorite thing about it. Where the fuck happened to the stampede of the disco elephants? What happened
um,
there?
just for the listeners, me and Miguel like wholeheartedly planned on doing a 3 hour long Limp Bizkit podcast. So if if we talk about this for a while, that's because that is on the shelf. But so Stampede of the Disco Elephants was they signed a deal with Cash Money Records for I think it was like a 2 record deal. They never even made a
Yeah,
single record. They dropped the single Ready to Go featuring Lil Wayne, which was dope. Um,
as featured on SummerSlam 2012.
Really, dude, it's that
Yes,
song is an absolute fucking bop. It's a jam. I love it.
because I don't know
Um,
if you know, Fred's on camera at SummerSlam, and they're like, "Here he is with his new song," and he does the middle finger, and then
mhm.
suddenly you can see that he's been ejected from the fucking
Oh,
audience.
for fuck's sake!
Um, what you expect when you get Fred Durst on? He's not going to give the middle finger. You mad?
I
Come
know,
on.
yeah. Like MJF did that at UFC last night. That's just what
He
people are
did
doing.
indeed.
But
I want to get your takes on him as well at some point.
I
Because
don't even know enough about him to be honest.
he is nothing like wrestling. He is not. I mean, he's old school wrestling. He did a really good. I mean, this is one of my favorite promos of all time. It's very simple. I won't indulge everybody listening because I know how the
Yeah.
wrestling side of things go. But um, he did a promo. This was years ago. He's a really good. He reminds me of Buddy Rogers so much that he's to. If you don't know what that is, doesn't matter. Old school heel, old school heat. But he's like, yeah, guys, I heard we have video games fans here, and they're like, yeah, and he's like, video games, video games, and he's like, yeah, I like video games too, and then I lost my virginity. Ooh, and it's such a like it's not even that clever. It's
No, no,
quite
no. It's simple AF.
basic, but I'm like, oh, that really because they were chanting, and then they got taken on that ride. Great shit. But yeah, that was the one time I was, oh, Limp Bizkit are making a comeback after Gold Cobra. But yeah, the
Yeah.
album was not to be.
I have been saying it for years. I've been saying it for years and years, actually. I've argued this point more than anyone else in the world. Fight me, motherfuckers. People will come around to Limp Bizkit and realize that they are nowhere near as bad as people say that they were. They just, for some reason, became a punching bag for all of new metal. They got kind of brought into the culture war in a weird way. Like, if you Google articles about Limp Bizkit from, like, I would say 2010 to 2016, they always seem to be like toxic masculinity. Like I don't know, Fred Durst and Limp Bizkit have a lot of songs about being brokenhearted, feeling like a piece of shit, like all of these things that someone indulging in toxic masculinity wouldn't acknowledge. I don't know. Limp Bizkit are a fun band. There's something of a modern, like, Beastie Boys kind of in the way that they make fun of the genre that they're in.
Yes,
And
tongue in cheek,
they
I believe they call that.
tongue in cheek, dude, got taken way too seriously, got way too much hate, came back with a
Mm.
fun gimmick. Everyone fucking dug it. Their album has like a 70 something on Metacritic, I think. Like largely positive reviews, largely welcomed back, largely seen as a breath of fresh air in their return. I think the hate for the whole thing is like very much like tired now. You can fucking go back to 2015 and hear me talking about them being afraid to admit that I like them. I fucking like them. I've always liked them. They're one of my favorite bands. And yeah, I don't know. Limp Bizkit still sucks. Best record of 2021 by a mile. That's my joke
Yeah,
answer, but also my
they're
real
really good.
answer.
I mean,
So
that little Lollapalooza performance, I think people should check that out. It's a
it's
really good
dope, man. I've watched
gig,
it
and it's one I
so
keep
many
going back to.
times.
Yeah,
Yeah,
same. It's
yeah,
one I keep going back to because it has like it feels a little bit like post-apocalyptic, like after the world ends, and
mm,
somehow Limp Bizkit is still rocking it, and
yeah,
those
yeah,
people are there. There's so I think that happened. Also 2021 being in the later end of the peak of the pandemic, arguably.
yeah.
But I really liked how it was like, hang on a minute, you know what? Actually, there's no band like Limp Bizkit. There's
No.
nobody out there at the moment because everyone takes their shit too seriously,
Yeah.
or you go too far the other way where you're Tool, where they're actually not taking shit seriously, but their fans, as you mentioned, think it's like really high concept,
Yeah,
and
like
sometimes it's
Mudvayne
made
being
entertaining.
back and the dude is dressing up in all the fucking makeup and shit, and it's kind of like
Yeah,
you're doing a rerun of your like Fred
yeah,
Durst.
we've seen that, bro. We've done that.
Yeah,
We've
exactly.
we've, we've tread over that ground.
Fred's out there in a gray wig and a fucking jacket that's not even zipped up properly, talking about dad vibes and just being a general
Yeah,
like figure of ridicule and cringe and like self like mockery
but
and stuff. Like this is a
and he owns
self-aware
it. And
guy.
once you own it, it's much harder for you to feel bad about it because you're going, the fact that the album's called Still Sucks, that Limp Bizkit never really had the industry's approval. They had the fans' approval, but never had the industry's approval.
No,
It's them
never.
kind of coming to terms with that and being like, no, we don't care if we're good. We might suck. We've always sucked, but we make music that we want to make, and
Yeah.
we are happy. And
Yeah.
there's a lot to be said about that because they're not at the whim of other people. So yeah, that's fair play. Okay, what about I know we're cutting it fine here. We're getting late,
Yeah.
but what about films and TV? Can we just
Uh,
chuck
okay,
some films
let's
at me?
let's rifle through this. Okay, I went to see the Batman with Edward Cullen as Batman. I can't
Now you went to
remember.
the cinema for this,
I did go to the cinema for
you
this.
fucking snake. Oh yeah, why don't you just fucking sit on your knees? Can't sit on your knees. Why don't you go on your knees and just let fucking Stan Lee dump his I don't know. I'm going forward with this. Ooh, everyone, give me the Snyder cut. Here's a deep fucking take right here. Here's a fucking hot take. Fuck Marvel. Fuck DC. And I stand with Martin Scorsese in saying that fuck superhero movies.
Man, this
Anyways,
movie
did you enjoy
is
it?
honest. Okay, okay. I'm on a positive vibe. I will say this:
Positive spins only.
Gotham City looked good
Got him.
in the movie.
Got him, City.
Colin
Sorry, I'm talking.
Farrell was fucking excellent in the movie.
He
And it
was.
was a really shit movie.
Wait,
And
who did Colin Farrell play?
the Penguin.
Hit the Penguin, right?
Yeah, yeah, he was awesome in it. Colin Farrell was the best thing about the movie by a long way. The movie really sucked. Zoe Kravitz, who I have a lot of respect for, and Edward Cullen had absolutely no chemistry whatsoever. I don't know how many more fucking times we can go and visit this gritty Gotham, blah, blah. If you want to see a movie like
It's
that,
New York in the 70s. Yeah, I
watch
know.
The
I've seen
Crow.
it.
Just
times.
watch The
Yeah,
Crow. The Crow is the Batman movie they have been trying to make since fucking Nolan. Everything after that is just trying to be The Crow. I know that the other one is trying to be Taxi Driver, the Joker movie,
Joker.
whatever.
Yeah.
That's not a Batman movie. That's separate.
It's not Taxi Driver as well. It's sorry, it's not just Taxi Driver.
The
It's
King
Taxi
of
Driver and
Comedy.
he's a comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know about the King of Comedy. One of my friends had watched it before, and he said, "Don't watch that before you watch Joker because you will be going."
Yep,
This is
you'll
like
be watching a
um,
repeat of scene shot for shot fucking remake of
yeah,
that fucking Joker movie sucks fucking dick. It's a fine movie in terms of how it's directed, how it looks, whatever. 5 out of 10. Fuck off. Just watch Taxi Driver if you want to see it. And if you want to see the new Batman movie, just watch The Crow. It's a better version of it. And Edward Cullen, I know that that's not his real name, but he's like
his real
fine, I
name,
guess.
Edward Snowden.
His real name is Robert Pattinson, and I like him.
Oh,
He's good, but I also just I don't know, man. Emo Batman, I guess like that deserves a run. Why the fuck not? Considering we have like 3 different guys playing Batman in the zeitgeist at the moment. But
yeah.
the movie sucked. They couldn't even think of a second emo song, so they were like, something in the way. Again, they fucking played it twice in the fucking. Oh, it's
That is the most depressing song from
yeah.
Nirvana.
Used to
And
be
I
my
know a guy who,
favorite Nirvana song, and now it's just such an emo like TikTok fucking song that now I can't even. Now I don't even like Nirvana at all anymore. You know.
I knew a guy used to play that for pre-drinks, and you're like, "Are you serious, bro? Something in the way? Are you saying there's something in the way of this night?
We
What?
listened to
What is
Walls by Wes Borland in this pre-drinking
Yeah.
session, motherfucker.
We listened to Dead Light Burns or where the fuck is
Black
band
Light
name
Burns,
is.
that's right.
Yes, I went for Dead Light, but that's spot on. Dead Light, Black Light Burns. Um, okay, cool. So you actually went to the cinema. So you've been to
Oh,
the cinema a few times this year?
yeah. Best movie of the year for me, Banshees of Inisherin, starring Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson. Go check that one out. It's a fantastic movie.
The Gentleman's really good as well. Have you seen that?
That's from like 2 years ago, isn't
Oh yeah.
it? But no, I haven't seen it.
I watched it last week. Yeah. I've also watched I've been making my way through the Resident Evil movies, so if you ever
Oh
wanted
yeah,
to do
you
a Resident
have.
Evil
Yeah.
only podcast, let's fucking dance. I've been watching a lot of Scream movies. I watched all of the Wrong Turns this year. So don't know if people know about Wrong Turn. It's like kind of hillbilly, backwoods, sort of The Hills Have Eyes kind of horror movie. Very graphic, really good visual special effects, as in like not green screen. Um, that was an Those movies are excellent for exactly what you're getting a slasher movie in an hour and a half, and they're fucking great if you want to spend an hour and a half just watching. There's mostly naked 20-year-old people get fucking killed here. Um, I'm sure the people that say groomers have no problem because they're all hetero, so it's cool.
They all
Um,
also voted for like a law that kept child marriage in place. Just FYI, all
yeah,
those conservative, fuck them.
yeah, and they love George Bush. No, they don't. But yeah, so that's kind of like films wise. I feel like I'm out of the zeitgeist, and same goes for TV shows. I watched Ranma, which is an anime about a boy who, whenever he gets cold water thrown at him, he turns into a girl, which came out in 1989. And
That
it
sounds
ran for seven
awesome. What's it
seasons.
called?
Ranma 1.5. Um,
Okay, got it.
There is one character though. He's like an old man. And he's obsessed with panties. So let's remember this is Japanese.
Okay.
But also, I thought because I'd watched Ranma growing up in Portugal. They used to have an anime channel. I watched it there. But I watched it recently, and actually, as far as gender bending and kind of playing with the norms of masculine actions up against feminine actions, it's really like groundbreaking because the character literally is a woman half the time, and when it's hot water, she's a dude, and when it's cold water, he's a she. You get what I mean?
I think that's
Um,
fucking class. I really think that there's
yeah.
a great like gap in the market for those kinds of stories that fuck with gender
Yes.
a little bit. I
Yeah, and
watched
it's really clever
a
because she uses can I say this real quick about Ranma? She
yeah.
kind of uses her his and hers obviously depending on which water
Mhm.
she has and he has on him. Oh,
Sorry, yes. The cool thing about the gender bending thing is that like you get to see the advantages that each gender does actually have because Ranma as a chick sometimes will use her feminine sexuality to get something, and as a dude, he will also use his masculine sexuality to get what he needs to. I mean, it's not like high concept a kids anime, but
Yeah.
It delivers things that it makes you introspectively go, yeah, women have to deal with that. Oh yeah, dudes have to deal with this, and it kind of makes you think. So yeah, that was all I had to say.
That sounds awesome. Shout out to that show.
Yeah, yeah. It was on a channel back in Portugal called Locomotion, not to be confused with the Kylie Minogue song, obviously. um, and they used to play Akira, Ghost in the Shell, which I've watched again all this year, funnily enough. Really like obscure as well animes and South Park. But Ranma 1.5 stuck with me because I was like, oh, it's got gender bending things. And it's got like, it plays on the idea of masculinity and femininity, which 1989, I don't think many animes were doing that, you know?
No, agreed. And the cool thing is, like back then, it would be so stripped of like political leanings that you could just do that. And the point is to actually fucking examine the gender thing rather than like if you did that now, like man, Ben Shapiro would be like, okay, this is the worst thing to happen to society, and okay, you can't talk about gender anymore, okay? And, yeah.
Hey guys, I'm cool with gender. I understand gender, but I'm just saying that, like, you know, do we need both genders? You know, oh, fuck off, mate.
Yeah, I fucking yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, you as well. Yeah, fuck him.
I saw a movie called Kate, starring Woody Harrelson. He would be like the biggest name attached to it, but it's a movie about this woman who is she's like an assassin, and she gets hit with a virus type thing, where she had like 24 hours to live.
24.
I should really say her name, but I can't pronounce her surname, and that's why it feels real bad that I'm like, it's a movie called Kate, and it's got Woody Harrelson because he's the only one in it whose name I can fucking pronounce. But in any event, check out the movie Kate. There's one of the bad guys in it who's like a big boss character. They're like at his apartment, and he lives with his boyfriend. So you kind of, you know, when you hear that, you're like, oh, so like it's a gay character. It's probably going to be a stereotypical gay character. But it's this guy who's a rock star in Japan, and he's got like,
aren't we all?
Yeah, exactly. But he's got like really strong feminine features, but also is like super badass. And I don't know. Yeah, check out that movie. It's pretty fucking good.
You've just reminded me. I did watch something contemporary because it plays on gender things like that. It's not gender, sexuality, things like that. Not so much. To be fair, it's just the current thing. Have you ever seen Only Murders in the Building?
No.
Very good. It's
never
got
even heard
Selena
of it.
Gomez, Steve Martin, and Martin Short. Martin Short, Steve Martin, and Selena Gomez. They're both like old men, and they basically start a podcast about someone that died in their building whilst investigating it. So it's kind of like picking up on the current trends of, you know, crime podcast, but it's as a TV show. Very well written. There's a whole episode. I think it's episode 8 of season 1. Season 2 just came out this year. Season 1 came out last year. Where there's like the whole episode's from the perspective of somebody who's can't remember if he's mute or deaf. So, but there's no sound in the whole episode. You get to experience things. The guy like reads lips. And you get to see things from the perspective of somebody who's not who doesn't use hearing as part of their repertoire of social skills. Really good show. Really, really good show. I think that's the closest thing to something contemporary I've watched. I do have Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is really good as well. I don't know if you've seen that.
Not yet, no.
Lady kind of floats through time and space, and she's in everybody. So again, it's that classic, like, hey, maybe you shouldn't judge people because you know, spend time in their shoes and you realize their position in life and whatnot. But yeah, I'm rambling here. But yeah, so I do you know what? And what about video games wise? Have you dipped into anything? I mean, I know you. It might be not established to listeners / creeps, but
they know.
I've been trying to get this man to play Cyberpunk for the better part of a year.
Oh, actually,
Cyberpunk.
I tried.
No.
I tried it. I downloaded it. You got like a 5-hour free thing, and
Yes.
I wanted to be a non-binary character, and you can have like a combination of sexual organs, but your voice can only ever be male or female. And I thought that was really fucking lame. Like, why not just have a voice where you can't easily determine the fucking birth assigned gender of the person? And
To
then
have that in characters in the game, androgynous
yeah, exactly. That's
characters.
that's what fucking annoyed me. And also just the gender aspect of the game is actually pretty revolutionary. And in cyberpunk as a genre, it tends to be. Like gender is almost always some kind of subplot in cyberpunk stuff. Like you had the Switch character in the Matrix and like, that would be the most famous example. But
Yeah.
it just annoyed me that ultimately the voice tone that you pick determines your gender. So if you pick the feminine one, you're a she. If you pick the masculine one, you're a he,
Yeah.
irrespective of the rest of your sexual organs.
Body.
Yeah, and I just thought that was fucking lame because the whole point of cyberpunk is the immersion of it, right? And I had decided going into it, I want to be non-binary, and I couldn't be, so I was just like, I don't care anymore. Fuck this game. I don't give a shit about this fucking stealing this car or whatever the fuck I'm supposed to do. So I tried watching the anime of it also, and I thought that was kind of garbage too. Um, so yeah, fuck you and the things that you
Because they
like. No,
used Kasabian as the theme song.
did they
They used
actually?
Clubfoot. Yes, Clubfoot, I think, opens or closes the show.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think I got to that. I mean, like I watched the opening. I was expecting like, okay, it's gonna land me in this city. It's gonna like softly usher me into the world that it is. But it starts off with like a Captain Demento has set up
Yes.
a fucking bomb in the middle of the public square, and I'm just like, oh, for fuck,
Yes.
it's just this.
This is the problem with the game that I had, which is, and I checked Reddit, and a lot of people are saying this on Reddit too. Not everybody says it, but there's a problem with that game, which is they drop you in almost 2/3 into your own story, and then eventually start your own story from the start because all paths start at one point as well. No spoilers, but there was a lot about the game that I felt like I had to go do my own research to go, what the fuck is going on? Because they're almost speaking a different language sometimes.
Mm,
So it is one of those games that needs, you will have to be like interested enough to go off and do your own research or read a lot of lore, because technically the board games start from Cyberpunk 2013. Arguably this is Cyberpunk 20, oh no, arguably this is Cyberpunk 2077. So arguably here, this is where that word goes, you have 50 years of lore to understand how we got to where we got. So I completely think, like, you're not alone in thinking, what the fuck is going on? Why have I shouldn't have to do my own research. The show should be explaining to me. Yes, there should be a lot of exposition by having characters obviously talk about the plot, but they don't, and they really don't do that in the game either, which is annoying. And I felt the same about The Witcher 3, but now that makes sense because there's 2 other Witchers. But
yeah.
even then, it felt like with The Witcher 3, because obviously it's done by CD Projekt Red, there was a lot of stuff that I had to go look this up. I'm like, I don't know who this character is, but they're talking quite like he's revered. Let me go and look this shit up. I had similar feelings about Game of Thrones when I first watched it. I'd like, for the first couple of seasons, I had a really, and maybe that makes me sound thick, but I had a really hard time following the plot. Not so much what's going on, but whose allegiances lie where.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and the problem about those shows and those games is you'll play it, you'll get acclimatized, but maybe you'll take a break from watching or playing it for like a year to 6 months, and then you go back to it and you go, oh shit, I don't know what's going on. I might as well start over, which is what I find with
Yeah.
Game of Thrones constantly. I'm
Happens to
like,
me
oh,
all
I'll
the
just
time.
start over. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I literally just played Age of Empires 2. Like I played like a little bit of Rocket League. I played I reran some Metal Gear Solid, but no, Age of
What?
Empires 2 is I did Metal Gear Solid Ground Zeroes actually was the one I played this year.
Is that 3 or 4? 4.
That one is like the prequel to 5. So it's like 4.5 that one.
Oh, okay. I do have that. I do own that. But for
Yeah,
PS3 somewhere.
I own that and 5. To be honest, I haven't really. I don't know, man. I play Age of Empires 2 like semi-competitively. It's like a huge part of my life. And then like Metal Gear Solid 2 is like the most important game that I've ever played. and I just can't. There's like nothing beyond them for me. I don't even know. Like I kind of get a little bit of a context high, let's say, from the hype of other games, but I never
Yes.
fucking get into them or whatever. I just don't fucking care. I will watch the Last of Us TV show though. That looks like it could be pretty good.
Yeah. That's another thing I've been playing: Last of Us 2, Red Dead Redemption 2, Final Fantasy 7 remake, which obviously this is going back a few years. Obviously,
Yeah.
I did think that 2020 was a peak year for gaming, as in like current gaming, because I felt like really as the pandemic hit, a lot of excellent games all dropped. But ever since then, it does feel like there's not really any reasons to necessarily boot up your PS5 because everything already exists that's really good, and there's nothing coming out at the moment that's like, whoa. Even the new God of War, I'm like, that's just the God of War before. But
That's the
tweaked.
thing. The next thing that I'm gonna get really hyped for is when they eventually announce a remake of Metal Gear Solids 1 and 2. And
And
like
FF8, presumably.
yeah, and FF8, yeah. But I think Metal Gear Solid especially because of how much I love that game and
Mm.
like that's great, but it's a game I've already played. Like I'm getting excited for nostalgia. Like that I think that that's fucked up. Like I think I'm just out of reach now. Like I've floated too far out of orbit. You can't pull me back anymore. I love AoE 2. I live in the year 1999. Fuck you. Stop
But
trying to talk to
if
me.
it's that's understandable because your sort of point of view is coming from the fact that you're going, these games tick all the boxes for me,
Yeah, for
so I
sure.
don't need to look for a new form of something new to engage me. And that's the thing. I do find that everybody, and I think hopefully this speaks to everybody listening, that everybody's got like one or two main games, and then when they get bored of them, they'll occasionally dip out to other games. So people that play GTA 5 or COD all the time, they'll occasionally be like, I guess I'll play the new Tomb Raider game, or I guess I'll play Cyberpunk for a bit. But then
Mm.
it's essentially just to get away from the monotony of the original game they were playing, only to then grow fonder of that game because the game you're currently playing doesn't quite tick those boxes.
Just
So I
doesn't
think
cut it.
that's so I think that's kind of the way things are at the moment. I mean, obviously mainstream wise, you're talking Minecraft and Fortnite for most people, but I think everybody's now at a point where they have that like, this is the game that defines me, and this is the game that I'm gonna go as far deep, competitively, obviously for UAOE or otherwise.
Hmm.
But I think that's kind of the general consensus because everybody that talks to their games, they've always got this is the game I play all the time, and these are all the games that I play when I don't want to play the game I play all the time. I think that's far more the norm than probably the AAA people would like it to be. So even on COD, I played World at War, which came out in 2008 on the PS3. You can still go online. The servers are still open, which is incredible. But there's still people playing that online, so you can still do a four-way Nazi zombies game. Zombies.
Jesus.
Don't want to say that word just in case. Yeah. So you can still play that game as it was in 2008 with people still online, and they're excellent. So those people have just been grinding and crafting their way through those games. So that seems to be the kind of the way it is at the moment. You have like the one main thing, and then occasionally you stray out, but not too much because you don't want to lose the. Especially because you play competitively as well, so you kind of have to really play the game. You have to
Yeah.
exploit all the nooks and crannies. But yeah, that's as far as game goes. Podcast wise, have you been listening to any podcasts as we
Mm, no, I think.
ironically make one here?
Yeah, I think that's another thing that's completely. I guess like I listen to shit about like culture war stuff
Sure.
like Ben Shapiro and Lex Friedman, for example. I listen to that, or like I listen to For Better or For Fucking Worse, that Brett Weinstein cunt when he was on the Joe Rogan podcast.
Yes.
Like these kinds of things I listen to because I want to like. For some reason, like the culture war stuff is very important to me. I don't know why. I don't know what my stake even is. I just, yeah, I'm into that. I listened to Peterson when he was on Rogan as well, and all that fucking nonsense he said about climate change, and you can't even measure what climate is because like all that stuff.
Yeah, he's thinking out of his box there. That's not
Yeah.
psychiatry or psychology. He's just
No, he
throwing out
was.
faith, isn't he?
Yeah, that was very strange. Yeah, it's weird. I'm always interested in what version of that person we're getting.
Yeah.
So I suppose there's no one podcast I can point to and say like, oh, I listened to this one. It's about these guys who do this thing. I listened to like Joe Rogan, Lex Friedman, whatever, like Sam Harris. Just yeah, these kinds of culture war figureheads. I'm super interested in all that stuff for better or for worse. I don't think it makes my life better.
I'll throw you a few though. I've got a few here that you could maybe get into. The Always Sunny podcast, where they listen,
yeah.
where they
I've
watch
actually
the
listened to that too.
episodes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I should. I actually haven't thought of that as a podcast. I know that that's what it is, but I always actually watch it. So I
Yeah,
just
same.
yeah, it just feels like I'm watching TV. So yeah,
It's
no,
really good.
it is really good.
I love those lads. Like I think and obviously they don't spend too much time talking about the actual episode. If I'm sure you notice, it's mostly
Yeah.
like whatever they're on their mind. But like there's something about those three guys, and even obviously when you have guests and stuff, that it feels like you're learning about the show, you're learning about them as people. So I always listen to that when I've got when I can't think of what to watch.
Yeah.
What to listen to. Been listening to one which is called like a murderer podcast, which mostly about serial killers and sort of gruesome events. Very good as well because the lads that hosted it, one of them's called Ben. I think the other one's not called Ben. I forget their names.
Interesting.
Yeah. So remember Ben, not Ben. They also quite funny. So there's kind of a lightness to the gravity of those situations. Football rambles always good for football takes. They have a really good variety of people, even if they are like I've noticed this about podcasts in this country about being really anti-Portugal because I still think they're bitter about 2004 and 2006 because whenever the chat turns about Portugal, there's a really sense of bitterness, specifically about Cristiano Ronaldo. I know that he's not exactly the best human being or the most whatever. Everyone's got a take on him, but it feels like they really go out of their way to slam Portugal, which I really don't like. But again, that's their own inherent biases. I just happen to see it because I'm from the place that they're biased about. But yeah, no, so that's mostly where I've been listening to podcast wise, and obviously the classics, OSW, Wrestling Bios is really good as well, but they're more like a video channel. Botchamanias. But I will say though, as far as the content side of things for 2022 goes, I feel like there's plenty of stuff to get your fix of whatever it is that you're after. You know, you like your culture wars. There's plenty of stuff to go on that. So which is good because it means that the market is quite good for I mean, I do think personally there's too many podcasts and everybody's got a podcast, which is nuts.
Nah, it's like you can be out of Breaking Bad episodes, but you'll never be out of like fucking Jordan Peterson interviews or whatever. Like it just fucking goes on forever. Like,
and also the other point that you'll run out of Breaking Bad episodes, but you'll never run out of podcasts talking about Breaking Bad.
Yeah, that's true as well.
I did listen to a Peep Show podcast. I won't name them, but I fucking hated it.
That's funny.
I did not like the analysis. I thought they misunderstood 80% of the show when they did that thing where they overanalyze and break things down too much. Therefore, the natural flow of things is not really there.
Yeah.
But that's a story for a different day.
Yeah, that's fair.
Hey, should we get the fuck out of here?
I think we should because I really have to piss.
That's 2022 accurately summed
That's
up.
as good a reason as any. Yeah, we'll just say shout out to like everybody. The world is weird and like I don't know. It feels like everyone is like I feel like we're in a moment where everyone kind of understands that everyone is struggling with something, and it's kind
with
of
something. Yeah,
it's like kind of sweet and like I don't know. It kind of is. It sucks because if everyone understands everyone is struggling, then everyone must be really struggling. But it's kind of sweet that everyone is like, listen, I want the best for everybody. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, when I say that, like, everything, there's this huge push for everyone always saying, like, stay safe, like, hope that you're all well. I don't know. I feel like that since COVID, that seems to be a big message being sent around. Like, everything that I listen to, every podcast I listen to, there's always, like, that kind of message in it. So,
People are actually, I suppose it's the classic, like, because, you know, you kind of think that everybody's in the same boat or bubble.
yeah.
You know, issues may vary, but generally we're all in the same boat of, like, it's kind of the end times, but it's not really. The world seems to be collapsing around us, so it's not like you can keep sane for too much, but then also at the same time, we keep each other sane by rallying each other, so it feels like we're all kind of on the same boat. So
Yeah.
I'm with you there. Yeah. Yeah. And just generally, like, I'd like to send a message out to everybody who's listening. Obviously, goes without saying, hope you're okay. Do please look after your mental health. It's very important. And stay strong. I think that's a very important message.
Yeah, I agree. Stay strong, everybody. Best wishes for 2023. If 2022 sucked for you, you get to do it all again next year and maybe do it better.
Yeah, prove me wrong. Prove me that an odd year can be better than an even year. How about that?
Yeah, there you go. That's a
Perfect.
callback.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, good night, everybody, and happy 2023. Have a good Christmas period, all of that stuff. Holiday period, whatever the fuck you're doing. I don't care. Survive winter, please. I'll see you again next year.
See you on the other side.
It was a message I heard when the company said there is no warning and there's no future. I like the way they treat me, but I hate the way they use her. I hate the way they use her. I never really read, I spent the day in bed and my hair was red and my eyes weren't dead. I was a